And chat, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to Root Double Before Crime After Days. We're gonna try. We finished chapter 5 yesterday. We're gonna try to finish chapter 6 today because it's much shorter, apparently. And then we'll see where that leaves us. So let me load. I'm being told there are tips to read. City Gates, Register Gold, Rokume City Security Department, and Bayo Bayo Episode 4. So that's... Tips is G. City Gates. The 6 main roads running through Rokume City from the outside are all installed with inspection gates. The 6 gates: Black Tortoise Gate to the north, Azure Dragon Gate to the east, White's Tiger Gate to the west, Vermilion Bird Gate to the west, Rural Gate to the southeast, and Research Gate to the southwest. The 4 cardinal gates are named after the 4 celestial guardians of Chinese mythology. Land incorporating all 4 guardians is said to be the ideal from a feng shui perspective. One famous city in Japan constructed with the 4 celestial guardians of the 4 cardinal points in mind is ancient Kyoto. According to the Nihon Kyoryaku, Emperor Kanmu established ancient Kyoto as the capital, as he saw the land as a suitable gathering spot for people from all 4 cardinal directions. The reason Rokume City's gates include the 4 guardians is thought to be a means to parallel Emperor Kanmu's words, as Rokume City was established as a gathering spot for communicators from all corners of the nation. That said, the almost military-grade security cameras and tall fences bordering the city today make it not the most warmly welcoming of gathering spots. The only way to circumvent the fences would be to go through the tunnels underneath them, but even those tunnels are equipped with bulkheads, making the city something of a landlocked island. Furthermore, if the bulkheads are forced open, a system is in place to automatically alert the police and the security department. Therefore, even if any intruders broke through by force, they'd be surrounded within minutes. The existences of Rokume City and the other government-designated top-secret cities are not exactly hidden, in the same way as Pripyat was. But at the same time, ordinary citizens are not allowed to enter or leave without considerable business. As far as ordinary citizens living on the outside are concerned, these cities might as well not exist. They kind of sound like prisons for communicators. Alright, Register Gold, Rokume City Security Department, and Bayo Bayo. Bayo Bayo, Episode 4 Commentary. We gotta keep our guards up. We need to be careful not to get caught by the bad guys. Kirara has extraordinary power as a psychic. When you consider her powerlessness as an elementary schooler, when she's not transformed into beyond Comni, her powers become an easily exploitable double-edged sword. Once Yeti warns her of this, Kirara shuts away her small desire to show off her true identity. Natsuhiko, Salu, and Mashiro were tagged by the security department under false charges and became unable to move around in public. Regardless, Mashiro is calm enough to quote the Bayo Bayo line, "We need to be careful not to get caught by the bad guys." Really? Is that really an anime-specific line? That's kind of just a line. She had the conviction that even if what she was doing wasn't safe, it wasn't the wrong thing to do. And she had reliable sympathizers on her side. But, just like Kirara in Yeti's absence, she would later come to anguish over whether or not she was doing the right thing. Alright, Register Gold. An energy drink developed by Beetlejuice New Treatments, classified as a medical supply. Its catchphrase is, "A healthy revival." Perhaps as a way to compete with the existing popular energy drink that holds the majority market share, Register Gold is the special ingredient of 100 million milligrams of taurine for nourishment and eliminating fatigue, thus successfully gaining it a core fan base of repeat customers. Really? 100 million milligrams? That's 100,000 grams. Isn't that like a substantial portion of a metric ton? Taurine is all about homeostasis. Homeostasis is the function of bodies and cells to maintain normalcy, and thus taurine is a very important nutrient in mammalian development. Well, 100 million milligrams may be excessive. Any excess taurine is safely excreted out of the body through the urine and is thus harmless to the body. Furthermore, this excess is what generated its core fan base, even leading to the formation of Register Gold communities. Although the product is sold nationwide, places like Tokyo and Sakura no Mori make up for 70 to 80% of national consumption. Okay. See why it's called gold? Yeah. Rokume City Security Department, a quasi-police force founded in 2016 based on the privilege of a government-designated top-secret city to mobilize a self-governed police force. They cooperate with the police to maintain public order and have the authority to inspect the city surveillance cameras and citizen database, as well as the authority to question suspects and take them into custody. 2016 was an important year where the Japanese government had to tackle all BC-related issues, such as the enactment of BC law and the legislation of government-designated top-secret cities. Considering how those cities' security departments were formed as a result of these efforts, many consider them to be organizations tasked with the suppression of BC-related crimes, even though they are not explicitly designated as such in any official text. Alright, I'm curious. 166, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, nope, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73. Okay, I'm most of the way through Route B and have done the entirety of Route A, and I'm not even halfway done getting all the tips. So there's definitely a third route. Also, I want to read Pripyat. A secret city in northern Ukraine, formerly the Soviet Union. The city was constructed for the purpose of housing Chernobyl nuclear power plant workers and was home to tens of thousands of inhabitants. That's where I'd heard the name before. Yeah. Missing a lot indeed. Alright, let's get to it. Natsuhiko woke up. His vision and consciousness were still blurry. Where am I? His unfamiliar surroundings had him on the verge of confused panic, but... Mashiro High! That's right. Last night I called Yuri on the phone, and then I returned to the karaoke box. Guess I passed out from exhaustion right after that. Before Chapter 6, September 15th chapter, 1 day until the incident. After a moment, his thoughts managed to clear themselves again. How are the other two? Mashiro Point. Natsuhiko turned his head to look for Mashiro. Aww, only to find her face right beside him. She's too close, and she looks way too defenseless. He only barely kept himself from shouting in surprise. Just afterward, Mashiro opened her eyes ever so slightly. Her eyes were fixing on Natsuhiko in an enraptured gaze. The sight of her awakening was so enthralling it left him speechless. I was wondering when romance was going to happen between them. It was the sight of his childhood friend that he had never seen before. But after only a moment had passed... Natsuhiko? She returned to the usual Mashiro. I'm sorry. Why are you apologizing, Natsuhiko? Natsuhiko jumped away reflexively and suddenly felt himself step on something soft. Stomped on Salu on the floor. Looking down, he found Salu sleeping on the floor. He had accidentally stepped on her. She seemed to be sleeping peacefully, but... Not a moment later, Salu grabbed his foot. Cha! And flung him away in a flash. Natsuhiko's world turned upside down as he toppled onto the floor. I hate this music so much. Ow, ow, ow! Natsuhiko. As part of her reactive throwing motion, Salu had risen to her feet. She appeared to have come back to her senses as she lent him her hand. I'm sorry. I thought you were going to attack me in my sleep, so I unleashed a Sanemi screw leg whip on you by reflex. A Sanemi screw? She named her attacks! Natsuhiko groaned as he got up. His knees and back ached. So she can use more than just Aikido? That was not an Aikido technique, no matter how he looked at it. Mashiro rubbed her half-asleep eyes as she asked about it too. Is that a Salu original special move? Yes, it's a technique from the composite system of martial arts I created by mixing several styles of hand-to-hand combat. Sanemiya style Savate. You are 13, Salu! This is breaking the suspension of disbelief a bit. Other techniques include the Sanemiya Sleeper, the Sanemiya Rocket, and the Sanemiya Suplex. Yeah, how heavy a person can you suplex, Salu? I see. Those don't sound like Savate techniques to me, and I get the feeling I've heard those names somewhere before. Forget about the techniques. What time is it? Natsuhiko checked his watch. 7:12 a.m., I guess? It was relatively early for a Sunday morning, but they had business to take care of today. Natsuhiko took a deep breath before speaking. Now then, today we'll begin a full-blown search for the terrorists. Alrighty, I'm ready to go when you are. We shouldn't overstay our visit here. We should set our sights and move. Yeah, they absolutely would have noticed us not leaving the room. I don't know why they didn't come in and shoo us out. Okay, so let's think then. What exactly is it that we should do? That should be obvious. Our end goal is to stop the terrorist plot. And to do that, we should clear our names with the security department if possible. To clear our names with the security department, I believe we need to find that security guard and make him admit to falsifying his report. Well, does Alice have a recording function? I see, that does sound logical. After Natsuhiko nodded in consent, Mashiro was next to speak. How are we going to get back there? There would absolutely be heightened security there. I've got a suggestion too. What's up, Mashiro? While we work on that front, shouldn't we also search for the man who was on the bus? How are we going to find him? I said it before, but even though he was concealing his face with sunglasses, I think I'll know him when I see him. If we happen to find him, we just need to tie him up real quick and hand him over to the police. That sounds easier said than done, though. I bet Salu could do it. Besides, if he's a terrorist, it's only natural that he'd have comrades. I don't think the arrest of one man will prevent a terrorist attack. But it would stop the security department from suspecting us, and it'd force the police to start searching too, wouldn't it? I see. That indeed does have merit to it. I know, right? Natsuhiko more or less agreed with that opinion, but don't you think we'd be banking too much on a coincidence to happen? Wouldn't it be important to gain some adult cooperation first? Taena! Huh? But the security department's already suspicious of us. No, that's exactly why we need help from an adult. an adult we can trust. They might be able to help talk us out of the misunderstanding with the security department, and we could rely on them when the going gets tough. One sec. It would have been a different story if Natsuhiko were the only one at risk for danger, but he wanted to ensure Mashiro and Salu were as safe as possible. There are two adults I have in mind. The first is Mr. Ukita. The second is Professor Tsubakiyama. Yeah, those two do seem like they'd hear us out, don't they? It's difficult for me to judge who to trust. Actually, I think Mashiro should be the judge of who we can trust or not. Huh? Me? Why? Natsuhiko meekly responded to Mashiro's puzzled glance. You can use empathy, can't you, Mashiro? Yeah, but it's rude to use it on people who don't consent, especially with your friends. Yeah. And empathy can only be used on someone who's opened their heart to you, right? Finally, an actual choice. I'm gonna go with... I'm gonna go with Mashiro high, Natsuhiko mid. Well... Okay, what will this choice accomplish? I guess we want to encourage Mashiro to do it. So I guess Mashiro mid, Natsuhiko high to prioritize my own opinion? Huh. Okay. My guess is Mashiro mid, Natsuhiko high. Is that correct, Shai? I did just save. Excuse me. You can do however you want. Fair enough. I'm going Mashiro mid, Natsuhiko high. I guess I am past all of the, I guess I am past all the bad ends. But will I miss out on scene flags is the question. I've got this whole chapter to go. So there's probably more scene flags. I'll let you know if I miss a scene flag, but those tend to be choices with one character. Okay. Well, I'm going Mashiro mid, Natsuhiko high. And empathy can only be used on someone who's opened their heart to you, right? So if there's anybody who acts or looks suspicious, can't you just check to see if you can use empathy on them? Huh? But that's super uncool, Natsuhiko. Mashiro's expression clouded over. She was probably reluctant to peek into other people's minds. Of course, if you feel uncomfortable about it, just tell me. I won't force you. Not at all. It's okay. If an absolute need arises, I can act against my moral code if I have to. Oh, I feel so bad about this. Mashiro hesitantly gave her answer. I'm sorry, Mashiro. It's fine, it's fine. We're in a state of emergency after all. Now that I have this ability, I may as well put it to good use for once. Mashiro spoke in a bright voice. Even if it were mere bravado, it provided relief to Natsuhiko and Salou. Okay, looks like we've made up our minds on what to do then. Yeah, clear our names with the security department, search for terrorists, acquire adult cooperation. All while avoiding surveillance cameras in the security department too. And yet we've still got to do it. It's not easy being an ally of justice, huh? Ready, guys? I'm ready when you are. Yeah, those are some stiff conditions to meet, but let's give it a go. We walk out of the shop and are immediately into the arms of the security department. Let's all work hard together. The three of them nodded at each other, and Natsuhiko spoke. All right, then let's get to work on the double. Yeah, Roger. And with that, the three of them exchanged firm handshakes? Really? Okay. After a quick breakfast, they left the karaoke box. But right as they were about to walk out into town... Wait. Salou held back Natsuhiko and Mashiro from walking any further. What's wrong? There are police officers there. I don't see any police officers in the background. They looked, and sure enough, there were two officers standing at the corner. At least put them in as part of the background. What about them? The police aren't our enemy, are they? We should still keep our guard up. Let's wait and listen to their conversation. Right. As Salou suggested, they hid by the entrance and strained their ears. Upon which, Natsuhiko heard the officers' conversation. Man, don't you think we've been patrolling here a little too much? Is there really any meaning in all this pacing around? The younger officer grumbled. The older officer replied. Of course there is. Our patrolling is a crime deterrent in and of itself. But it's a little hard to believe there are terrorists in such a peaceful town like this just because we're told so. But even the municipal office has received a threat letter. We must remain vigilant. The city's major BC-related facilities are stretching us and the security department thin, but you can never be too careful. Mashiro whispered as they listened in on the conversation. Hey, they're taking it seriously. I'm sure those threat letters were a diversion too. The whole town's on edge because of Q. It's like we're under martial law. But at least for now, it looks like the police aren't following us. And since the police and security department are busy with other cases, that should mean they've slackened their pursuit of us at least a little. I see. That's good to hear. So we've got freedom of movement, sort of. The kids waited for the officers to leave before heading out into the street. Now then, where should we go first? The PRC? No, that's too far. Let's go somewhere nearby first. Like where? Our neighbor's house, Mr. Ukita's to be exact. And thus they walked towards Ukita's house, straight into the area that's being surveilled. Ukita's house was about a 30-minute walk away from Center Street. But they needed to avoid any street surveillance cameras, so the 30-minute distance took over an hour to clear. Whew! We're finally here. Mashiro took a deep breath, finally relieved from all the tension of having to avoid notice. Now, how's Mr. Ukita? Natsuhiko pressed the doorbell as he spoke. However, there was no response, no matter how many times he pressed the button, even though he pressed the button 5 times in 4 seconds. Huh? Looks like he's not at home. Where would he be so early in the morning? Probably slept at work. Work, I guess. Ukita was a labo researcher. He may have been too busy at work to have gone home last night. Looks like a swing and a miss right off the bat, huh? Nothing we can do about it, so let's move on to... An angry shout interrupted Mashiro. Natsuhiko! Oh shit! They turned around in shock to see a woman in a lab coat standing in front of the house next door. It was a face they hadn't seen in days, Natsuhiko's mother, Dr. Miyoko Tenkawa. Crap! The professor briskly walked towards them as Natsuhiko silently cursed this unexpected turn of events. I got a call from the security department last night. They say you injured a security guard at the PRC? Oh, I see how it is. So you came back just for that? Of course I did. Never in my dreams did I expect my own son would do something like that. Yui, you were with him. What were you thinking? I'm sorry. No, stand up for yourself, Salu. You too, Mashiro. They said you were with them too? I'm sorry, but... Natsuhiko glared back at the professor as she scolded them. Hold on a second, Mom. They have nothing to do with this, do they? Well, Salu was the one who flipped the guard. No, in fact, you don't have anything to do with this, Mom. This is our problem. I don't have anything to do with this? Of course I do. I had to be dragged out of my busy work schedule. The professor sighed deeply. Yeah, that's what you care about, huh? Please, just don't add to my problems needlessly. I'm busier than I have ever been with my current work. Wow, you are a shitty mom. Something snapped inside Natsuhiko. The professor's son and his friends were being pursued on the pretext of a false charge, and yet she wouldn't listen to any of it. And to top it all off, she was still trying to focus on work. Okay, Mom, sorry for being a pest. Just go back to Labo and work already. How can you expect me to just do that? How? It's easy. You keep talking about work this and work that. If work's so important to you, then just go already. He felt something murmuring in his heart as he spoke. He knew he sounded like a spoiled child, but he couldn't stop the words from leaving his lips. They're pursuing us based on a false charge. We were partly at fault, but that security guard lied in his report. Huh? And we're not even doing anything wrong. We're just searching for the terrorists in town. Terrorists? What are you talking about? There's a very likely possibility they're here, so we're doing what we can to stop them. This is not how you're going to win your mom over. You kids, stop terrorists! Don't be foolish! The professor raised her voice sharply. Listen to me. Stop spouting nonsense and just stay inside like I'm telling you to. No, this is my own decision. I can't just back down and listen to you. Is there something I'm not giving you enough of? I've provided you with a carefree life, haven't I? Yeah, but you haven't provided him with a mom. Well, yeah, you have been providing for us financially, but that doesn't give you the right to criticize every action I take. How do you expect me to listen to everything you say when you're never around to say it? The professor's face froze over at those words. Natsuhiko, stop it. You've said too much. No, he said exactly enough. Mashiro and Salu frantically cut in. But that was something Natsuhiko had always wanted to tell his mother. He couldn't stop the words he had been holding back all this time. You took custody of Yuri after her parents died, right? I thought that was very noble of you. But can you look me in the eye and say you've become a new mother for her? I know it's too late for me to say this now, but you've always been too preoccupied with work to even care about what happened at home, haven't you? Does Miyoko see Yuri? I can't remember if she interacted with her or acknowledged her during her last appearance. Do you realize how lonely Yuri and I were, growing up in a house without parents to welcome home at night? Do you know what it felt like, watching over Yuri as she struggled with her emotional trauma? Of course, Yuri's completely innocent here. I'm grateful for how you managed to support the family as a single mother. I truly am. That's why I never said anything. But this is the last... Just then, a weak smack rang out against Natsuhiko's cheek. It was the frail slap of his mother's palm against his cheek. You hit me. That's a first. Guess you had to start acting like a parent somewhere, huh? Natsuhiko made it that far before gasping. Is she crying? For he saw tears welling up in the professor's eyes. It was all for you. I'm trying my hardest just for you. Huh? Natsuhiko, you made the professor cry. How cruel. No, she kinda deserves this. You should apologize. Bitter regret filled his heart as the girls admonished him. But what felt stronger than his regret was his confusion. It was all for me? I never asked for this. So why are you crying? What's with that timing? He couldn't understand his mother's feelings. Dr. Tenkawa continued in a low voice. Natsuhiko, I'm begging you, please listen to me for now. I need to go back to Labo right away, but we can talk as much as we want afterwards. For now? What do you mean, Mom? Is there something you want to tell me? No. Does it have anything to do with what's going on now? Not at all, though I do think one day the time will come when we can talk about it. The professor spoke insinuative words. There's a word I've never heard before. Is that even a word? No, okay, hang on. I'm going to double check. Insinuative. Is that an actual word? Insinuate is a word, of course. Is insinuatory a word? Yes. Insinuative, adjective, is a borrowing from Latin combined with an English element. Okay, insinuative is in the Oxford English Dictionary. Huh. Okay. Natsuhiko wanted to know what was on her mind. He wanted to know from the bottom of his heart for the very first time. Mom, what are you trying to say? As that thought crossed his mind. Random encounter! His 5 senses suddenly faded into the distance. Oh, is he going to read her mind? His vision blurred, his hearing diminished. And instead, voices echoed in Natsuhiko's brain. I knew it. He hates me. Yep, he's reading her mind, but until all the work is complete, it'd be best if I avoided him. Yeah, he is the subject of an experiment, isn't he? Natsuhiko was shocked. The sensation was quite similar to receiving telepathy, but not entirely. He heard a voice directly echoing in his head, but Natsuhiko had heard Dr. Tenkawa's mental voice. This is empathy? Until all the work is complete, it'd be best if I avoided him. The work, huh? How does that relate to Natsuhiko? As soon as Natsuhiko had that thought, his 5 senses returned. Natsuhiko! He snapped back when he heard Mashiro's voice up against his ear. What happened? Someone's coming this way. He turned around in shock to see 2 men running their direction from the other side of the street. They were the security department members who were standing in front of Mashiro's house yesterday. Damn it, did they see us already? He was concerned about the meaning of his mother's tears and if he had just used empathy, but... Let's get out of here! Natsuhiko quickly shouted that command. And with just a moment of hesitation, Mashiro and Saloon nodded. I'm sorry, Professor. We have to go now. Professor, I'll protect Natsuhiko. No need for concern. And with that, the 3 of them ran away, leaving behind Dr. Tenkawa hanging her head in shame. Best to avoid Natsuhiko. What do the experiments going on at Labo have to do with Natsuhiko? Did they induce Yuri's brain ghost in him? Did he conjure Yuri's brain ghost because he couldn't accept her death? and it was traumatizing? Or is Yuri an actual ghost attached to Natsuhiko? Huh. Is Yuri's ghost the source of the radiation? The source of the WX particles in Labo that's causing everybody to get irradiated? I wonder. Run! Run, you two! Natsuhiko frantically ran, urging the girls to do so as well. Let's escape to somewhere devoid of people for now. It'll be too hard to tell who's with the security department in a crowd. In accordance with Salu's suggestion, they ran away from the urban areas. The situation was different from their escape last night. They had taken advantage of the cover of the dark, but this time it was a challenge purely of stamina and agility. Salu seemed like she had more than enough stamina, but... Mashiro's rough breathing was loud and clear. Her stamina could give out at any moment. Natsuhiko took Mashiro by the hand, and right when they thought they had finally shaken off the men, a car appeared in their path. Rokame City's emblem was painted on the side. The security department again? Well, we can't outrun a car. This way, you two! Natsuhiko detoured into a side street. They continued into a narrow, unpaved road that seemed inaccessible to cars. Crap, they'll overtake us at this rate. Is there nowhere we can hide? I don't know. Mashiro cried bitterly. Her voice sounded so pained. Mashiro was by no means fast on her feet, and her physical strength was subpar at best. Damn it, at this rate, Mashiro gonna... I think you mean Mashiro's gonna... Proofreaders, please. The security department's presence was gone for now, but by no means did that mean they could stop. They ran at random through narrow streets so as to make themselves harder to track. Wait, I can't go on. Mashiro finally threw in the towel. But that very moment, beyond the grass lining the side of the road, they saw an old abandoned building. That's it, let's hide in there. It's not the secret base, is it? Oh, this might be where the terrorists attacked them in the flashback. Huh? Yeah. The kids stumbled into the building. It was a dark, empty place. Despite its considerable size, there was no sign of anybody inside. The kids took deep breaths. Whew. Think we can escape their pursuit here for a bit? Quite possibly. I checked when we got here, but there were no surveillance cameras near the entrance. Thank goodness. That was honestly a close one. Mashiro spoke as she caught her breath. She seemed to have finally recovered. Well, that was fast. She took a look around and suddenly opened her eyes as if she had noticed something. It's a secret base. Huh, isn't this place... something up? Well, this is our secret base, isn't it? Huh? Oh, you're right. Now that she mentioned it, it was. It was the abandoned factory that Natsuhiko and the other children played in, their so-called secret base. Man, this place hasn't changed a bit. Well, it's so big that even just demolishing it would be expensive after all. This is perfect. Since this base is familiar territory to us and all, let's rest here for a bit. I guess we should wait for things to cool off again. Okay, what do we have here? We have Mashiro High. Accept. Yes. They wiped off their sweat and leaned against the wall. Salu looked a little tired too as she whispered. The security department is making it hard to move around. Yeah, we've made a nuisance of an enemy, haven't we? Bayo Bayo Episode 5 commentary, because Mashiro High. The very townspeople we swore to protect have become our enemies. Quite ironic. They had always known the security department to be a reliable organization, but now they were painfully aware of just how diligent they were. Mom could have just stopped those security department freaks for us. That thought reminded Natsuhiko of something. He remembered that strange voice he heard back when he saw his mother. So does Miyoko not think in her own voice? Oh, right. Guys, please listen. Huh? What's up? Actually, when I was talking to Mom, I heard her mental voice for some reason. Her mental voice? You mean empathy? I don't know, but probably. Mashiro's eyes widened at those words. Wait, you're serious, Natsuhiko? Isn't that a little too quick? You only started using telepathy just recently, didn't you? Well, he didn't do it by choice, and he did kind of blank out for a moment, as you might have noticed. Well, it was just for just a second, but I'm sure I heard it. Try it out on me for a sec. My heart's totally open right now, so try to listen to my mental voice. I'm quite interested too. Please, try it out. Well, it only works in moments of heightened emotional distress. So far. Yeah, sure. Natsuhiko put a finger to his brow, a trick used for empathy. He shut his eyes and tried listening to the girls' mental voices. Please tell me what you guys are thinking. But for some reason, he couldn't concentrate too well. Compared to telepathy, which only required focusing on a simple message, empathy seemed like it'd be several times more difficult to him. How about it, Natsuhiko? Did you hear my mental voice? No, it's not working. Looks like it's the same as telepathy. It seems I can only use it when I'm truly focusing. Because Yuri's taking up his brain waves. I see. Were you focusing intensely when you were talking with the professor? Yes, Salu. Were you not paying attention? Yeah, I guess. I mean, she did cry all of a sudden, so... yeah. What was on the professor's mind? Well, it wasn't anything special. She was mad and sad and stuff. Natsuhiko awkwardly tried to gloss over the details. No! Tell them, Natsuhiko! He recalled his mother's mental voice. I knew it. He hates me. But until all the work is complete, it would be best if I avoided him. Mom was thinking things like that? They were quite unexpected thoughts. Though that was assuming what Natsuhiko heard was actual empathy, not just an auditory hallucination. Right, maybe it was just an auditory hallucination. Huh? You're right, Mashiro. There's no way I could start using empathy so quickly. Maybe I was just hearing things. I didn't even identify Mom's characteristic brainwave form, after all. Maybe. That's okay, though. Mashiro appeared to be preoccupied with other things. I guess this isn't the time to be talking about this. As soon as they started the search, they were nearly detained by the security department. And despite being the first to nearly throw in the towel, Mashiro was probably doing her best to endure. Natsuhiko thought he'd try to casually break the tension with some optimistic conversation. But still, you know, Mashiro, this place sure brings back memories, huh? It brings back flashbacks. Huh? What do you mean? I'm talking about the past. This is where we all used to gather as kids, after all. Yeah. You're right, this place does bring me back. Mashiro looked around the ruined factory with distant eyes. Eyes that were perhaps seeing images of the past. More talk about your shared past? Sorry, is it boring you? Not at all. I want to hear more. Well, it's not that big a deal, but... With that introduction, Natsuhiko began to tell a story. In those days, we'd gather here a lot and get excited. Over trying to solve the 7 wonders of Rokame City. 7 wonders? They're these 7 urban myths this town has. Like what? Well, let's see. What were they again? Natsuhiko thought hard to remember them. Let's see. Number 1. Labo doesn't conduct nuclear power research. They research arms production and other dangerous national matters. Closer to the truth than you thought. Huh, no way. The professor does that sort of research? No, that's just a baseless rumor. Nothing more. And I love how much Japanese media has 7 wonders. Yeah, there's 7 wonders in Crisis Core as well. The 7 wonders of Nibelheim. I think that's where you get the Phoenix materia? Yeah, I think so. Maybe? Could be. Possibly, yeah. No, that's just a baseless rumor. Nothing more. That's a relief. But you see, when we were kids, we actually believed in this nonsense. Natsuhiko continued with a wry smile. Oh yeah, Kingdom Hearts 2 Twilight Town has 7 wonders as well. Number 2. The burned ruins of the old Rokame City Hospital are haunted by the ghost of someone who died in the fire. Again? Topical! There's no such thing as ghosts. Aren't there, Salu? Aren't there? Number 3. The surveillance cameras in town aren't meant to prevent crime, but to observe ordinary citizens. Probably true. It would be hard to call that absurd, based on what happened today. Number 4. There exists a righteous organization that fights evil communicators who misuse BC. They're commonly referred to as the BC Police. Their true identity is shrouded in mystery, but they're headquartered in Rokame City. Is that real life or just something from an anime? Well, you know, now that I think about it, the whole thing was more like a joke. What were the other things? Right, we haven't gotten to the best ones yet. Mashiro grinned broadly as she spoke to Salu. Number 5. If a communicator uses BC without knowing the proper way, it will eventually turn into a mind-broken monster. Yeah, that's the one. That 5th wonder was one step beyond the others in terms of eeriness. Salu's expression clouded over upon hearing it too. Monster? What do you mean they'll become a monster? They'll become a gun zombie! Actually, this is still a firmly rooted rumor, but remember how it's been said that BC still has many unknown factors? Yeah. Well, it's only to be expected, you know? After all, we still don't even understand the workings of the brain that well. So, if you self-study BC and practice using a failed methodology, it could put an odd load on your brain, and if that accumulates, you'll be forced to take a match off in the mecha battles. They say that eventually your mind will break. I wonder whether it was... Okay, so one of the theories I have is that in the inciting incident where Watase and Natsuhiko fought, they mind swapped, and the protagonist of Route A is Natsuhiko in Watase's body? Maybe. Yeah, that's one of my theories. And that's why, and that's possibly why Yuri was visible to the adult party. But that's probably too outlandish for this game, which is a weird thing to say about a game about psychics and ghosts. But the game has continually proven that it will go for more mundane options. They say that eventually your mind will break. Salu's face clearly stiffened. Mashiro continued in an even more exaggerated tone. And as for the mind-broken communicators, they become monsters who use aberrant BC abilities and cursed telepathy to scatter madness among people all around them. So to prevent the birth of such monsters, the government established communicator-exclusive schools like Rokume Academy. Salu jolted back in fear. Despite her lack of fear for ghosts, it seemed she could still be scared by such stories with questionable realism. Yeah, but she's used to psychics. She knows psychic powers exist. This is much less outlandish than a ghost story. Well, it might not necessarily be false. I'm not so sure about that monster prevention part, but our school does make brainwave scans and aptitude tests part of the students' yearly physical examinations. Then if one of those monsters had ever arisen, there would have to be records of it. Any such records? None. Nobody's seen any. See, just a baseless rumor then. No, you should hold your conclusions until after you hear the next one. Huh? As Salu tilted her head, Natsuhiko thrust his finger at her and spoke up. Number 6. Monsterified people are captured by a secret task force working under the Rokume City Security Department and are imprisoned underground beneath the municipal office. In short, the security department hides all of the monsters away from the public eye, and that's why you never hear of any. No. God, you guys are just scaring her for no reason. Salu's face was already pale, her voice powerless. Natsuhiko just kept it coming. And wonder number 7. But before he could finish, he forgot what it was. Convenient. Huh? Mashiro, what was number 7? That one was like a supplement to number 5. Basically, no more. 6 is enough. A flustered Salu spoke up. She apparently wasn't good with this sort of talk after all. Oh, Salu, you're a scaredy cat. Shut up, Mashiro. Now, there's nothing wrong with you acting your age for once. It's cute. Shut up, Natsuhiko. I suggest you quit. Salu lightly slapped Natsuhiko and Mashiro on the cheeks. Ow! Ow! Sorry, Salu. I'm sorry I scared you so much. It was a joke! A joke! Yeah, they're just rumors after all. I want to hear number 7. That's fine then. But don't talk about these things again or I'll get really mad. Mashiro High. Mashiro High School. Okay. Man, we were so childish, weren't we? They smiled at each other. And thus, before they knew it, the heavy atmosphere had somehow abated. Mashiro sure is tough. She's already bounced back. It's flashback time. Now that he thought about it, she was always like that. Sup, Crow? How's it going? She had an indomitable will that allowed her to not shrink back when cornered, but to find enjoyment out of even the toughest of times. That's right, she was like that back then too, huh? And with that thought, he had a recollection of another childhood memory. One sec, I need to think about something for a sec. Huh. Alright, flashback time. Journey of Justice. It was a story that happened after they had set Sirius free outside the gate. Natsuhiko and Mashiro had run away from the guards stationed there. And as they ran recklessly, they found themselves at a ruined factory at the edge of town before they knew it. It was the place they had turned into their secret base. Whew. laughing. "Yes, we set Sirius free!" "Yeah, we did it! We did it!" Natsuhiko and Mashiro laughed out loud. What they felt the most wasn't the sadness of parting with Sirius, nor the fear of getting caught by the guard, but rather the sense that they had truly accomplished something. They had saved a life. Natsuhiko was glad and proud of himself. He had experienced some terribly mortifying memories in that ruined factory, but for that moment he had forgotten about them. "Hey, Mashiro." "What, Natsuhiko?" "We've been rivals so far, but now and forever we're allies of justice, aren't we?" "Yeah! Let's keep protecting the town's peace." Yeah! Don't wait for someone else to protect what you hold dear. Protect it with your own hands, right? Mashiro smiled softly as she spoke. Natsuhiko lost his breath. Not because she had quoted him, but because Mashiro's smile looked strangely charming to him in the moonlight. "Huh? What's wrong? Your face is red?" "No, it's nothing." You're weird." Mashiro tilted her head and suddenly changed the subject. "Anyway, what do we do after this?" "Huh? What do you mean?" "Well, you should probably go home." "If we go home now, our moms will surely be angry, right? It's so late at night, after all." Now that you mention it." He hadn't thought about it. Natsuhiko spoke the first thing that came to mind. "Then why don't we go on a journey of justice together?" I'm not sure what that means, but it sounds good. Let's do it. Let's do it. I know, right? We'll get a bunch of bad guys. We'll punish the evil healthcare center, too. If we do, then Sirius can come back to town, right? Yeah, someday. But in that case, it looks like we've got a lot of enemies ahead of us. So we need more allies to help us, don't we? It really would be tough for just the two of us, huh? Their fun laughter echoed in the dark secret base. However, Natsuhiko knew, and Mashiro probably noticed it too. It was impossible for two children like them to go out on a journey all by themselves. But Natsuhiko chose to ignore that reality as he spoke up cheerfully. "Well, nothing we can do about that right now. I guess let's put the journey on pause and just go home for today." Too bad. We have to go home just to get scolded? Don't let it get to you. We did what we did to fulfill heroic duties. So let's not sneak around like cowards, but march as heroes. Let's go. Natsuhiko took Mashiro by the hand and started to walk. For a second, Mashiro looked surprised. "Yeah!" But she soon replied with a broad grin. As he saw her smile, Natsuhiko thought to himself, if only this journey could continue forever instead of ending when they got home. Yeah, he's had a crush on her for a long time and never realized it. He felt like he could walk like this anywhere so long as Mashiro was with him. That sure brings me back. Now that he thought about it, they had hidden in this very same ruined factory. Perhaps that memory was what cheered Mashiro up. Still, it would have been great if you were there with us back then, Salu. Then we could have played together, and you wouldn't have to feel left out in all these reminiscent talks, you know? She would have been 3 years old, not Mashiro. It's a shame. Mashiro and Salu cheerfully talked amongst themselves. Salu doesn't look cheerful. We need more allies, huh? At the very least, we've got one more now. But they were fine with just the 3 of them. With that thought in mind, Natsuhiko piped in with a cheerful voice. Now, let's leave the past at that. We should think about how we're going to continue the search. Mashiro and Salu's faces tensed at his words. You're right. After all, things out there should have cooled down by now. No, it's probably too naive to assume that. They're probably lurking around here somewhere. We're safe here, but there will be surveillance cameras everywhere once we go to an open area. We can't move around freely at this rate. I see. That's annoying. What do we do? Natsuhiko pondered that question for a bit. I know. Let's use a taxi for all of our transportation from now on. Huh? Do you have the money for that? If we can manage to make it to a main road, we can hail a taxi there. Then we just rent it out for the day. For the day? The whole day? The security department probably won't expect us to go through that much effort. Well, that does sound nice, but how will we pay for it? I've been saving up for a rainy day, and today's that day. Wait, are you sure? That's gonna cost like $200, Natsuhiko. Sure, I'm sure. It's not like I've got any other use for it. That was the money Natsuhiko had been meticulously saving up from his allowance and New Year's red envelopes ever since elementary school. Holy shit, how much is this gonna cost? His lack of hobbies meant he had no use for the money, so he had an absurd amount of savings in the bank. Holy shit, how much money have you got, Natsuhiko? I should have around 200,000 yen! What the fuck? Get a hobby, man! I'm pretty sure that should be enough to rent out a taxi. Oh, looking kinda cool, Mr. Moneybags. But that certainly does sound safe. Okay, then that settles it then. He'd never done something as extravagant as reserving a taxi for a whole day, but now wasn't the time to mind such details. How much is that in American money? About $1,800. So after we've successfully hailed a taxi, where do we go next? Mashiro and Salu High. With current hilarious exchange rate, $1,300. Oh, is the yen super weak right now? Well, Mr. Ukita wasn't home, and it doesn't look like we can depend on Mom. So I guess we've got to go with Miss Anna then, huh? Or we could also go with our original plan and go to the PRC. Natsuhiko pondered which route to take, and a moment later he gave his answer. It did hit a low not seen in about 40 years. Salu boys, let's follow Salu's judgment here. We should go to the PRC. Do you think we'll be okay? According to what we overheard from those policemen, the police and security department are tightening their guard around the city's important facilities. But I want to put that security guard in his place ASAP. Don't you, Salu? Agreed. I'll throw him down again if I need to. That sounds like it'd just complicate things even further. Well, whatever. Anyway, let's rent out a taxi and head to the PRC. And with that exchange of words, the kids dashed out of the ruined factory, directly into the arms of the security department goons. They ran from cover to cover and somehow managed to reach a convenience store beside the main road. For now, Natsuhiko withdrew 100,000 yen, or half of his total savings. And thus, they had enough to cover their transportation costs, but the convenience store's surveillance cameras had likely caught Natsuhiko on film. He had covered his face with his hand, but there was still the possibility that they could track his movements through his ATM card history. That's suspicious all by itself, Natsuhiko. I mustn't stay here a moment longer than I need to. Gotta get out before the security department arrives. With that thought in mind, Natsuhiko dashed out of the convenience store. Mashiro, Salu, I withdrew the money. Mashiro and Salu turned around once Natsuhiko shouted. They had been waiting by the main road and had just hailed a taxi. Thanks, Natsuhiko. Now, hurry this way. Natsuhiko nodded and rushed to the taxi. Okay, where to? As he opened the door, Natsuhiko answered the driver's question with a question of his own. Excuse me, do you do full-day rentals? Huh? Rentals? Now that's an unusual request. Not that I'm complaining. How much? 45,000 yen for 8 hours. Hell yeah! Now that's expensive. Yeah, but we don't have time to hesitate. Let's hurry in, Natsuhiko. Right. And with that, the kids piled into the car. The driver spoke in a tone of voice that was suddenly a lot more polite. Thank you for your patronage. Now, where may I take you first? To the PRC. Understood. Voice command. Navigate to Parapsychology Research Center. Drive mode, automatic. Normal. Initiate drive sequence. Drive yourself! The driver commanded the automatic driving system, and the taxi nimbly took off. Oh, right, there is an automatic system, isn't there? That's why Ukita's crash was so unusual. Huh. But once they reached the PRC, the building's perimeter was dotted with police presence. Ugh, the police really have tightened their guard. Mashiro whispered to Natsuhiko so that the driver wouldn't hear. The security department could be here too. Looks like it'll be hard to get inside and deal with the security guard. Man, no wonder this chapter's so short. We're getting shut down every which way. An error of judgment. Nothing we can do about it now. Let's go see Professor Tsubakiyama first. They didn't know where Enna lived, but perhaps they could find her at school. That's a naive child assumption. She was such a diligent teacher that she might have still gone to work, even though it was a Sunday. As that thought crossed Natsuhiko's mind, the driver spoke up. Sir, madams, we've arrived. Are you not getting off? Sorry, Mr. Driver, but please head to the school. Huh? Sure, of course. Confused, the driver started up the car once more. Enna Tsubakiyama's heart. After a little while, they arrived at the school. The gate was open, even though it was a Sunday. Perhaps to let in teachers looking to get work done on the day off, or to allow students to use the facilities for club activities. Mr. Driver, please go to the staff entrance at the rear. Gladly. The driver moved the car in accordance with Natsuhiko's directions. And then the kids got off the taxi at the staff entrance. Mr. Driver, please wait here. We'll be back later. Well, you are renting for the day. Of course I'll wait. And with that voice at their backs, they entered the school. It was the same familiar school they attended, but they made sure to be as cautious as thieves. As they got inside, Salu muttered. Let's find Enna quick and... Hold up, Salu. Natsuhiko quickly stopped Salu. What's wrong? Listen carefully. I can hear something from over there. More cops? Natsuhiko pointed to the corner of the ceiling as he spoke. And there, he could hear the servo motors of a surveillance camera. What did you think was going to happen, Natsuhiko? There's a camera inside here, too? The school's furnished with surveillance cameras to prevent intrusion by suspicious characters. Natsuhiko normally paid them no heed, because if he let their presence get to him every day, he'd never be able to stay calm. Then we can't go to the staff room. Yeah, but if we can find a dead spot. As Natsuhiko began to speak, Mashiro placed a finger to her temple. The security cameras can't pick up telepathy. Hold on, guys. I'm contacting Miss Enna through telepathy. Miss Enna, this is an emergency. It's me, Mashiro Toba. If you're at school, please come to the staff entrance. It's more reliable to do this than to try moving around. Convenient! Convenient psychic powers! I see. So let's wait here then. And thus, they waited for a while after Mashiro sent her telepathy. And eventually, Enna appeared. Miss Toba? Mr. Tenkawa and Miss Sanemiya too? Miss Anna, I'm so glad you're here. What's happened with you three? You come here on a Sunday with an emergency. It's a long story. Can we talk about it somewhere without surveillance cameras? Anna watched Natsuhiko's tense entreaty with a serious look on her face. Sounds like a desperate situation, huh? The BC room's right over there. It doesn't have any surveillance cameras. We can talk in there. They slipped stealthily into the BC room. Alright, kids, every time you've talked to somebody, you haven't explained what's actually happened. I would like you to clearly explain why you went to the PRC and what happened there. And your logic about the terrorist attention. They slipped stealthily into the BC room. Anna stood at her podium as usual and spoke up. Yeah, this is what Anna was talking about when she told Salud that in Route A that she had told them to leave it to her. And this is why Anna is at Labo. Is because they told her about the terrorist stuff here, and she went the following day. No, wait. Hang on. No. Anna was requested by the staff of Labo to show up. Why was that? Huh. Anna stood at her podium as usual and spoke up. Now, let's hear it. You three have been acting strange since yesterday. What on earth happened? I don't know if you'll believe us, but we've been dragged into a bizarre incident. We wanted some advice, so we looked for you, Miss Anna. Incident? Advice? What might this all be about? Well, I guess we should start from the beginning. Natsuhiko retold the story of what happened since yesterday. What happened on the bus, the possibility of Q being in the city, and the reason the security department was chasing them. Though we did leave out the part about Mashiro using empathy. Once the story was done, Anna muttered. I see, so that's what happened. Miss Anna, you believe us? Yes, you are my students, so I believe what you say. And I believe you kids acted in accordance with a pure sense of justice. The kids were about to sigh in relief, but what Anna said next stopped them in their tracks. But for that very reason, I don't think you should involve yourselves in this incident any further. No way! Why not? As a teacher, there's no way I can approve of students putting themselves in danger, can I? Q is just that dangerous an organization. Professor, you know about Q? Yeah, she's a big fan of BC history, Natsuhiko. Of course I do. I am a teacher at Rokume Academy, you know. That actually would be an occupational hazard here. Apparently, Mashiro and the trainer were right. It did appear to be an infamous organization. However, so why are you being so... As Mashiro trailed off on her words, Anna spoke with an exasperated smile on her face. Right. If I want you kids to understand where I'm coming from, it looks like a special lesson is in order. It's not something I teach in normal lectures, but I do believe it's something you three should know. A special lesson? Anna nodded and quietly began to speak. The truth is that BC and terrorism share an inseparable relationship. While I was studying parapsychology in college, I naturally learned the true history of BC. Hang on. Anna's only like 28. This is 2030. Anna's a Zoomer. I just realized. Anna's Gen Z. Holy crap. Oh, that feels so weird to realize. Hi, Zap. Oh my god. Anna is a Zoomer. That is so wild to realize. What have I missed? Well, we woke up, we had breakfast, we decided we were going to do a bunch of things today. We went to Ukita's house, we got accosted by Natsuhiko's mom. Ukita wasn't there, we got chased by the security guys. We hung out in the abandoned factory. We told Salu a bit about the past. We escaped the neighborhood that the abandoned factory was in. We hired a taxi for the whole day. We went to the PRC. It was swarming with cops, so we went to school to find Enna. And now I've been mentally flashbanged. Can't believe she's a fucking Zoomer. Oh, that's crazy. While I was studying parapsychology in college, I naturally learned the true history of BC. She's the same age as my younger brother will be in 2030. Oh, was I correct? Did I remember correctly? She's 28? I naturally learned the true history of BC. Society underwent many changes after the emergence of communicators. It's a history steeped in danger and extreme instability. A history steeped in danger. As you know, 16 years ago was a turning point with the explosive increase in the number of communicators worldwide, correct? But do you think society at the time just simply accepted it? You mean it didn't? Yeah, I thought communicators only had low ability levels back then. They knew that some people could use a bit of telepathy, and that was it. The Espers probably didn't think it was that big a deal, but not everyone else believed that necessarily. Enna frowned as she spoke. At first, only a small minority of people displayed intense rejection of communicators. There was an incident in France in February 2014. Men obsessed with some delusion set fire to a village a communicator lived in. Fire? That's terrible. Why? According to the arsonists, it was because communicators are abominations possessed by impure spirits. Religion. Impure spirits? What's that supposed to mean? Apparently, there's this story in the Bible. By the shore of the Sea of Galilee, there was a man possessed by impure spirits. He dwelled by the tombs, but would often hear the spirit's voice and suffer. When asked for his name, the man replied, "My name is Legion, for we are many." The impure spirits were eventually exorcised from the man's body, and instead they entered a nearby herd of pigs. Upon which, the pigs began to run like mad and fell into the lake one by one, where they drowned. That's quite an ominous story. What's up with that? I don't know. The significance behind that story has always been a subject of discussion among religious scholars, apparently. But this is what the arsonists thought. Communicators hear voices that we do not. Those are the voices of impure spirits. They are abominations possessed by impure spirits, and therefore they must be punished by God. No way. That's crazy. Yep. That's religious nuts for you. Indeed, I think so too. Of course, those arsonists were punished, and fortunately there were no casualties. Thus the incident was soon forgotten. But in retrospect, that was the beginning. The start of the antagonism between communicators and ordinary people. Enna's expression remained unchanged, but her voice gradually grew more stern. Communicators were targeted by normal people for the sole fact that they were communicators, and those incidents only increased in frequency afterwards. In April that same year, a young American communicator was lynched in Brooklyn. Oh, that's fucked up. The following month, an entire apartment building was burned to the ground in China. In June, it was Germany. In July, Italy and America. In August, it was Germany, France, and Austria. In September, it was Russia, France, America, and China. I had my hands full just counting all of the similar incidents. What do you mean? You were 12! Anna, you were 12 years old! Did you know it's happened in this very town too? The Great Rokamei City arson. I know about that. Yes, you're a good learner, Miss Toba. It's not a very well talked about incident nowadays. She meant in college? Fair enough. Anna spoke with a smile. But it was a smile tinged with sadness. These problems never happened back when communicators were extremely few in number, and BC was dismissed as the occult. I do believe there were communicators before that, but at best, the options available to them were to become leaders of New Age religions, to work as TV talents, or to hide their abilities, as most of them did, and live in secret. But as communicators started appearing more and more, and their numbers rapidly grew, the situation instantly intensified. It was as if all of the sudden, a new breed of humans was born, and many people feared the demise of the old human race. It would have been fine if BC were something you could just learn if you put in the effort, but since BC aptitude is genetic and decided upon birth, well, Anna trailed off at that, allowing silence to fill the classroom. Even though the room temperature wasn't that cold, Natsuhiko felt his spine chill. A strange fear sank into his heart. Anna continued. That antagonism eventually turned into fear, and that fear gave birth to terrorism. Terrorism is derived from the Latin word terror, after all, which is a line that makes a lot more sense to have in Japanese. People resort to terrorism either when they fear others or when they want others to fear them. It's a sad but inevitable course of events. I don't believe it. But aren't we at peace now? It took an extraordinary international effort to build that peace, and of course, Japan was part of that effort. 2 years after the Great Rokamei City arson, the BC law was enacted to protect communicators. And at the same time, 6 cities in Japan were established as government-designated top-secret cities, protective wards for communicators, beginning here with Rokamei City. Communicators throughout the country were moved into these government-designated top-secret cities. They were moved? You mean they had no choice? No, it was, at its core, voluntary. But communicators living in the countryside received insistent advice from the government to move. Of course, the government reimbursed the full amount to move, and even provided anything from occupation and housing referrals to large reserve funds on a case-by-case basis. Why would the government go that far? To preserve public order, nothing more. They wanted to defuse the antagonism between communicators and ordinary people. The urgent matter at hand was to establish the idea that communicators all live in government-designated top-secret cities as common sense. By segregating the communicators, the ordinary people would be able to rest peacefully. Why are you smiling when you say that? That's a shitty situation, Anna. The migration went over smoothly, and friction was minimized. And so, with all its communicators gathered in one spot, Japan was able to get its BC research organized for undisturbed progression, and thus became an advanced BC nation. So, basically, this town isn't merely a research city. It's a prison. It's a national fortress established by the state to protect communicators like you, and to constrain us and contain us. Like, the flip side of that is also true, Anna. the communicators have been contained, segregated, kept from integrating into the rest of society, and kept from being a danger to anyone else, as far as the general public is concerned. That's fucked up. When he heard the story to its end, Natsuhiko finally understood the truth behind this town. Why this town had such strong public order. Why the city was so vigilant against criminal activity to the point of installing surveillance cameras and city gates. He heard that it was all to protect the local research facilities from industrial espionage, but were they actually trying to protect the communicators? No, the public order of society itself? Enna continued as the kids were left speechless. But the more society's systems strengthened, the more crafty the terrorists became. And Q was the most crafty and vindictive organization of them all. Ugh, don't I know it? Don't we Americans know it? You may know this already, but they have successfully carried out terrorism in the past. As of yet, there haven't been any cases of them targeting government-designated top-secret cities, but I don't for a moment think your story is a joke, kids. Enna quietly sighed. It appeared that the reason she honestly believed their story was because it was a possibility she had feared from the start. I understand that Q is a dangerous organization. They stormed Congress led by a guy in a Viking helmet. Gonna take a 30-second detour to politics. People focus on the QAnon shaman because he was easy to focus on. He was weird and he was loud. And a lot of people didn't pay attention to the guys who showed up in the halls of Congress in masks, body armor, and carrying zip ties and stun guns. There was some serious shit that happened that day. And people who reduce it to jokes about the QAnon shaman and his like are missing some really dangerous, scary shit that happened that day. That was a scary day. That was a once-in-a-generation scary day. That was a 9/11. That was a Kennedy assassination. That was... Oh my god. That was a scary day. Anyways, politics over. I understand that Q is a dangerous organization. But why hasn't the police arrested them? Well, because they're secret. Because they haven't been able to catch them. That's because, for the most part, Q's members consist of ordinary people who happen to be in the area of the operation. Ordinary people? Unlike extremist groups and town guerrillas of the past, Q doesn't make grandiose claims of its existence. And of course, they don't have any sort of hideout where they practice armed combat or anything. They merely use their proprietary network to search for ordinary people who dislike communicators, and then they slowly convince those people to join their cause. But if the terrorists solicit, won't they get caught right away? No, it's like white supremacists boiling the frog with dog whistle memes. It's an observable phenomenon in the modern internet. No, when they solicit like-minded people, they use various different names for camouflage. Or that too. Bland names like the Association for Consideration of Relations with Communicators. Uncomfortably realistic, yeah. But once they join those camouflage organizations, the members themselves don't realize that they've actually joined Q. The majority of its own members don't understand the truth of the organization. The name Q itself is nothing more than a designation given for convenience. That's why it's hard for the police to make arrests. Is that how it works? That seemed to be the reason why Natsuhiko hadn't even heard of the name Q until just a few days ago. Because Q was a unique kind of terrorist organization, one whose very structure was ambiguous. But Q's top brass are working solely to commit terrorism though, right? Of course, the top brass have been pulling off terrorist attacks for years by going through their countless subordinate members and selecting the ones most suitable to take the fall as the perpetrators. Yeah, here's the wild thing about how real this is, Crow. This game came out in 2012. Oftentimes, they choose staff members with connections to the target buildings to be the perpetrators. The use of such sleeper agents increases the success rate of their terrorist acts. What supports their unity and belief is a hatred of the unknown. The mere thought that they are not like us is enough to incite them to hate others, ostracize them, injure them, and finally set towns ablaze. Their mentality is abnormal. Yeah, that's very real in modern America, too. There are people like that in the world, unfortunately. Natsuhiko's very core shuddered to hear the entire story. Not once in his life did he expect there to be people who hated communicators like him to that extent. We've never even met. We've never even done anything wrong. That was when Natsuhiko first knew that the world was full of malice. A peaceful life was not a given, but rather something narrowly established on a precarious balance. Excuse me. Here's the thing. Most people are, at their core, good people. Like, that is the base state of humanity, in my opinion. There are a lot of people who have been led astray from that, and there are a lot of people who are, at their core, vindictive, mean, and malicious. But those people are loud and dramatic and noticeable, and a minority. Most people are good people. Or at least neutral on the D&D alignment scale. A peaceful life was not a given, but rather something narrowly established on a precarious balance. As the kids cast their eyes downward at this newfound truth, Anna spoke to them gently. I'm sorry, it must be a shock. The ugly truth of society and the existence of genuine malice should be things left for you to find out when you grow up. That's why the school doesn't teach those things. It would give needless anxiety to the students and surely spread the seeds of antagonism too. This town polices information and filters the internet. Though, honestly, if you looked into it, you could still find out about Q's existence and whatnot. Man, internet censorship too? This place is fucked. That did seem like an obvious decision on this school's part. If the school instilled the fear of ordinary people into the minds of all the communicators who attended, then the cycle of antagonism would never end. That's a fair point, I guess. But you know, I thought that you three would be able to accept that truth calmly. Why? You don't know Salu at all. Miss Toba, the most diligent of the class. Miss Sanamiya, the wisest of the class. And Mr. Tenkawa, the one with the highest aptitude of the class. The wisest in the class, huh? Salu is 13, Anna. That speaks to a profound disdain for the rest of your class. You're a mismatched trio, but that's why the three of you together can come to terms with this truth, right? Of course. Yeah, we're not the type to lose heart to some dumb malice like that or whatever. I've promised that even in the off chance something does happen, I will protect these two. I see. I'm glad I told you then. So, Anna smiled sweetly, then she spoke clearly and distinctly. Leave the rest up to the adults. You kids should behave and just stay put. Huh? I heard from the security department and the police after yesterday's bomb threat. They're already considering the possibility of terrorism. That's why the city's under martial law. If terrorism happens in this city now, it could shatter a system 10-odd years in the making. It might be harsh of me to say this, but it'll just be a hindrance for kids to be moving back and forth. I'm sure the security department thinks so too, which is why they're trying to take you into protective custody. But you're telling us to just sit back and do nothing? We can't. The whole city could be in danger. Are you just going to watch as it happens, Miss Enna? I know, but I'm not just going to watch. This town's so beautiful, it just makes you want to protect it. Even if there really is a hole in its perfect surveillance system, the town is precious to its townspeople. Enna! Enna! Hi! Enna hi! As she spoke, Enna glanced at the classroom door. But even so, you three need to head home now. And if the security department people show up, you should follow their instructions. That's the number one thing you three should do for now. Oh, I lost a point with Mashiro. Oh, that was the wrong choice. That was the wrong choice. And low. This is the only lost point you can get since Chapter 2? Really? Man, there really isn't any real branching in any real decision. There really aren't any decisions to make in Route B. It's just keep the girls high and occasionally mess with Natsuhiko and Enna Ukita's relationship values. Hey, Cobweb. Oh. Makes sense since Rupi is set in the past, so things need to be solid, but yeah, not much. Well, here's the thing. There are bad ends where you make the wrong decision and you die. And like, Route A was full of bad ends and dead branches and failed timelines. And there was only one route one route with a quick expansion into 3 routes and then a consolidation back into 1 after like 2 scenes. There's only one route to reach the ending you need to reach. Everything else is a detour and a dead branch. So they could have done more with Route B's decision system. Even if there really is a hole in its perfect surveillance system, the town is precious to its townspeople. As she spoke, and I glanced at the classroom door, following instructions, for now, Natsuhiko felt a little lonely. Enna acknowledged what they had to say, but in the end, she still treated them like children. Regardless of their student-teacher relationship, her way of thinking sided with the adults, the security department, if anything. Damn it, is there nothing we can do? Is there no way we can get Professor Tsubakiyama on our side? As soon as Natsuhiko pondered that question, Mashiro suddenly spoke up. I understand, Miss Enna. We'll do as you say, she lied through her teeth. Huh? Natsuhiko was surprised, but Enna spoke in relief. Thank you. It makes me happy as a teacher to have such obedient students. It's because I've always respected you, Miss Enna. Okay, Natsuhiko. Salu, here, let's go. No, hold on a second, Mashiro. It's a little too sudden for you to just say, just come. And around the same time Mashiro said that, she used telepathy. Don't say anything, guys. I'll explain the situation once we're outside. Let's just run away for now. What exactly did she mean by run away? Natsuhiko was bewildered, but one look at Mashiro's tense expression stopped him from asking her. Yeah, okay. Roger. Mashiro nodded and then spoke to Enna. Okay, if you'll excuse us, Miss Enna. I'm sorry I couldn't be more helpful. They left Enna alone in the classroom with an apologetic look on her face. Hey, Mashiro, what did you mean by run away? Shh! Mashiro shushed him and answered with telepathy. We can't trust Miss Enna. She's not opening her heart to us. What does that mean? When she finished talking, Miss Enna seemed oddly obstinate, didn't she? So I tried to... Whoops! I couldn't hear her mental voice at all. That's proof she isn't opening her heart. Mashiro's log. So I tried to see if I could use empathy on her, but... Okay. Mashiro's eyes were blurred with sadness. No way. The smile he saw on Enna's face just now flickered in the back of Natsuhiko's head. Is she going to call the cops on us? It was such a kind smile by appearances, and yet... Did Professor Tsubakiyama not actually trust us? He couldn't understand why not, but he could smell danger somewhere. If we stay here too long, she could call the security department on us. Let's get out of here calmly, but quickly. Yeah. The kids walked down the hallway, trying to look as casual as they could. Alright, so what's left to do today? There's the run-in with the terrorists in the ruined building. And we need to figure out that we need to go to Labo tomorrow. And I can't think of anything else that would happen in this chapter. Maybe we'll get more flashbacks? I guess we'll find out. Would she be Q? But was all her enthusiasm a lie? That seems unlikely. Yeah, I think... Ooh, it would be interesting if she was Q and everything was a pretense for her to worm her way into Rokume City, but interesting theory. The kids walked down the hallway, trying to look as casual as they could, nimbly passing through surveillance camera dead spots all the while. So, where do we go next? We're in a tight spot, huh? Since we can't find Mr. Ukita, we're out of adults we can trust. Natsuhiko pondered Mashiro's observation, and he noticed that he did have one person in mind. What's up, Natsuhiko? Did you think of someone? Well, kinda, but we're barely acquainted, though. Who? Someone both you and Salu know. Ah! It seemed to finally click for Mashiro when she said that. Yeah, when you've been cornered, I guess it really is a hero that you need. And with that, the kids left the school. And with that, I'm going to save, feed the cat, and take a quick break. Oh yeah, it could be June. Wait, hang on. Pronouns. Yeah, it's June. You're now in the final line of the root beer flowchart I'm following. Sick. Sick. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break. I will be right back. I'm going to feed the cat, have a snack, go to the bathroom. I may be like 10 or 12 minutes because I've got a few things I have to do, but we'll see. Burb. Right, sorry that took a minute. Let's continue. And with that, the kids left the school. As they boarded the taxi, the driver asked them, "Where are you headed next?" Yeah, you should try out Final Fantasy XIV. Definitely worth doing. Very good stuff. Takes a while to get off the ground, but it's fun to play with your friends and the story gets very good. Where are you headed next? The fire station. The driver nodded and began to input their next destination. One sec. Oh. Is this a new track? Huh. One sec. Might be June's theme. Yeah, if it is, I haven't heard it for a while. Because she, it's been a while since she's been herself in a situation where this would play. Rokame City Central Fire Station. Atahiko, Mashiro, and Salu got off the taxi in front of a building they had never visited before. They weren't entirely sure of how the fire department was organized, but the rescue squad members were probably here too. The fire station. So that means we're here to see June Moribe? Exactly, but it's kind of a gamble though. I hope June's around. But considering what had happened so far, they had no room for optimism. We might get the same reaction we got from Professor Tsubakiyama, so we need to be careful. I don't know if I can pull it off or not, but I'll try using empathy too. I can't just make Mashiro do all the work. And with that thought in mind, they stepped foot onto the premises, prompting a cheerful voice to call out to them. Excuse me. Oh, hey, that was easy. Huh? Well, if it isn't Natsuhiko, Mashiro, and Luis. What's up? Hello, June. It's been a while. Hello. Oddly enough, Salu seemed to have read the atmosphere and greeted her courteously. Yep. Great to see such well-mannered kids. So, what brings you guys to these parts? You didn't come all the way here to see little old me, now did you? Actually, we did. Wait, seriously? You see, there's something we want to talk to you about. The kids explained the circumstances to the cheerful and casual June. They told her about the terrorists boiling with hatred in the city. They told her about the possibility those terrorists could conduct destructive activities in various parts of town. And at the end of their explanation, June asked them with a serious look on her face, "Do you really think the adults haven't thought of all this?" Is that true? It might sound like a joke, but it's true. Yeah, you guys sound like you're for real. For real? As June made a bitter face, Mashiro asked her again. June, do you believe us? Well, if I had to go just by your story alone, it'd be hard to believe right off the bat, you know? But there have been some things that have been bugging me lately, see? What do you mean? Well, they've been deploying us way too much lately. So you're mad you're not sitting on your butt? There's been such a spike in the sheer number of incidents alone that it just feels unnatural. June, do you think those accidents and incidents could be connected to terrorism? I never thought about it at all, but hearing your story sure makes me think so. The atmosphere at work has gotten so tense lately. I wonder if everyone else has started to think something was off. I see. As he listened to June's answer, Natsuhiko concentrated with all his mind. First, he searched for June's characteristic brain waveform and quickly identified it. June's a Type 8, huh? That was the waveform associated with idealists and challengers. He found it fitting as he concentrated further. Now I need to try the same trick I did when I read Mom's mind, assuming that wasn't just a hallucination, that is. Focus from the bottom of my heart. I want to know what's on her mind. He fiercely wished to know whether or not June truly believed what they said. What's wrong, Natsuhiko? What's with that strained face all of a sudden? Natsuhiko paid no heed to her voice and concentrated further, being incredibly obvious. And suddenly, June's natural voice disappeared and another voice echoed in his head. Hey, are you okay? Can you hear? Random encounter! It's like you can't even hear me. What's wrong, honestly? You see that worried? Well, I guess so. I mean, they are asking me for help. Yeah, so in that case, I better give him some reassurance. Real helpful. Natsuhiko gasped. This time, he was certain that it was no hallucination. That was June's mental voice. I used empathy. He was both surprised and grateful. How are you going to explain? Looks like I've figured out the trick. I guess intention really is important. Perhaps people are best able to learn new abilities when they truly need them. Furthermore, June's innermost thoughts were full of concern for the three of them. Natsuhiko took a big breath of relief. Don't let on that you just read her mind. It'll close her off. I'm okay. It was just so big a relief that you believed us that I nearly passed out. A little faint of heart, are we? That's no good. You gotta man up if you're a boy. But that's great. There was nobody else we could count on. Nah, I'm glad to help out however I can. Well, terrorism is a little out of our area of expertise, but if you like, I'm sure I can talk with someone up. But before June could complete her sentence, a shrill sound interrupted her. Huh, what? What's that sound? It's the alarm for her to go on the job. A dispatch. That very moment, June's face became stern. And at the same time, they heard a siren echo from the fire station building. What's going on? I'm guessing it's got something to do with that. What? Ah! The kids didn't notice until June mentioned it. But far off in the distance, they could see black smoke that the artists in this game were too lazy to draw. Don't tell me that's another terrorist attack. The moment that thought crossed Natsuhiko's mind, June patted him on the shoulder. Sorry, I gotta go check it out for a bit. Looks like we'll have to save this discussion for later. June. Mashiro spoke with an expression full of anxiety. But June just smiled as if to cheer her up. What's with that face? The desire to protect this town is something all of us share. And I'm gonna protect this town my way. So you guys do whatever it is you can. Capiche? Man, hearing a Japanese person weave capiche into their conversation would feel kind of weird. Like, hearing them speak Japanese and then say capiche? Maybe that's unusual because English borrows from all sorts of other languages, and other languages borrow from English. But the cross-pollination between, say, Japanese and Italian is incredibly small. Yes. Yep, good answer. Later, guys. See ya. So can we just wait at the fire station for a while? The kids waved their hands as June headed inside the fire station. Before long, a fire truck emerged from the station and passed by. Natsuhiko muttered as they watched it leave. Do whatever it is we can, huh? Yeah. They nearly had June's cooperation, but they couldn't quite get it. But be that as it may, just loitering here until June returned wouldn't quite be doing whatever it is they could. Okay, let's go too. Huh? If June's dispatching to the site of a terrorist attack, then the culprit might be there too. I see. The culprit always appears at the scene of the crime, right? Let's leave the firefighting to June's team. We'll go search for the culprit. She did not say capiche in the Japanese audio. That's a shame. And with that decision made, the kids boarded onto the taxi once more. Mr. Driver, follow that fire truck. Huh? Hell yeah! I've always wanted someone to tell me that. Okay, voice command, drive mode manual. Here we go, boys and girls. The driver slammed the accelerator and the taxi sped up. These kids made his day twice. First by paying him a shit ton of money, and now by letting him do something super cool. Making him feel badass. Towards the lingering smoke in the distance. And soon enough, the taxi stopped. The kids were shocked to see what lay before them as they got down. Here? Hey, a new background. Oh! Is this the PRC? Here? It was the PRC, the same institution that they had known to be a Q target since yesterday. An explosion probably happened here. There were shards of glass everywhere. The building was wrecked. June's team was apparently already inside fighting fires and saving lives. So this place really was being targeted. The terrorists have finally sprung into action. Natsuhiko nodded and looked around. There were onlookers gathered around the building. The crowd, of course, included staff members who escaped the building, as well as policemen and security department people, but the culprit could be in the crowd. Yeah, the culprit always appears at the scene of the crime, they say. That is a childish view of crime. They weren't quite sure of the authenticity of that saying, but that was all they could rely on for now. And it was quite a difficult task to find the culprit, since they had no leads. Mashiro, can you search the crowd for the man you saw on the bus 2 days ago? In a crowd this big, it's obviously going to be hard. He might not be wearing the same sunglasses after all. Or maybe we can find him with unconventional methods? Like what? Maybe Scooby snacks? There's more than one way to use telepathy. Let's just say there's more than one way to use telepathy is what you meant to write. Mashiro gave a bold smile as she placed a finger at her temple. The culprit hates communicators, so let's exploit that hatred. Oh, we're gonna get in so much trouble. I'll send untargeted telepathy to all the onlookers. You guys watch for anyone whose reaction looks suspicious. Got it. Roger. I apologize for the language in advance, so don't be surprised, okay? Oh, she's gonna let loose some F-bombs, isn't she? Well, here goes. And with that, Mashiro closed her eyes. Hey, you dumbass bomber. You think you got away, stupid? You hate communicators, huh? So why the hell are you watching the fire when one's right behind you? Man, no F-bombs from Mashiro. The head-splitting telepathy echoed inside their heads. And at the same time, all the onlookers cowered in fear. Do anyone's reactions look off? Natsuhiko and Salu darted their eyes around the crowd. People were bewildered. People were looking around. There were various reactions, but just one person's reaction stood out as different. The same time Mashiro's telepathy rang out, a man turned and looked behind his shoulder in shock. Huh? That man looked familiar to Natsuhiko. His stern face, huge body, and finally his uniform. What to say? Mashiro, Salu, it's him! The girls followed the path of Natsuhiko's finger, and their faces stiffened. That's... Oh, it's the security guard. Ah, the very same security guard they ran into when they trespassed into the PRC yesterday. The words they had heard from Enna earlier that day came to mind. Oftentimes, they choose staff members with connections to the target buildings to be the perpetrators. The use of such sleeper agents increases the success rate of their terrorist acts. A sleeper agent. That was exactly the answer to the question that had been bugging Natsuhiko since yesterday. The answer to why the security guard overreacted to what they said back then, too. The answer to why he had filed a false report to the security department. It's because he's the culprit behind everything. The moment he made that realization, he heard the onlookers start a commotion. What was that telepathy just now? Yeah, she said something about a bomber. That's when Mashiro sent in more telepathy. Officers, security department people, the bomber's that guy who looks like a security guard. He's super duper dangerous, so all you onlookers need to be careful, okay? The commotion grew even louder. The security guard in question became quite uncomfortable and tried to slip his way out of the crowd of onlookers. Salu. I know, it's my turn now. And with that, Salu slipped into the crowd and chased after the security guard. Mashiro, it's dangerous, so stay back! Natsuhiko warned Mashiro as he chased after Salu. And once the security guard slipped out of the crowd... Huh! Salu let out a battle cry and lunged at him, dragging him into an alley. You brats are... Ah! Salu sidekicked the security guard in the knee before he could finish talking, breaking it instantly. Then he spent the rest of the conversation screaming. Damn it! The security guard pulled out his extendable baton. But as soon as he got it at the ready, Salu front-kicked his wrist. The baton tumbled onto the ground, but Salu didn't stop. Her gracefully executed roundhouse kick drew an arc through the air and into the back of his neck. And he's dead. The security guard muttered a moan and collapsed to the ground. He tried to get up, but his knee gave out and he couldn't stand. Salu? You're like 3.5 feet tall. How did you reach the security guard's neck? You should stop resisting. You have no chance to succeed. Stop it, Salu. You're going overboard. Natsuhiko rushed up next to Salu and tried to be the voice of reason. He stood between Salu and the security guard and interrogated the man. You're with Q, aren't you? The security guard didn't answer. His facial expression merely moved ever so slightly. There's no doubt about it. He's a terrorist. Natsuhiko continued with conviction. Because of you, we had the security department breathing down our necks. We're gonna prove our innocence by turning you in to the security department and making you talk. The security guard's face warped. He staggered up to his feet. There's no point trying to escape with a pitiful limp like that. The security department's swarming all over the place. The moment he thought that, Mashiro's voice echoed in the alley. That's right! This is the end of your evil deeds! Mashiro! I said not to come, stupid! He turned around and shouted at Mashiro, which created just a moment's opening. The security guard pulled a small knife out of his pocket. Uh-oh! Natsuhiko, watch out! The sound of Salu's voice left Natsuhiko breathless. The security guard readied himself. Ooh, and stabbed the knife into his own stomach. Oh, we're in trouble now. Oh, we're in trouble now. Huh? Natsuhiko doubted his eyes. The spray of blood from the man's stomach splashed onto Salu's face. Time seemed to stop for a moment, so this guy was a true believer. But that was, of course, just an illusion. Mashiro's scream snapped Natsuhiko and Salu back to their senses. He stabbed himself? Why? Don't tell me he did it to avoid getting apprehended by the security department. Since he succeeded in blowing up the PRC, his duty is done, so he's basically a suicide bomber? Mashiro shouted to the confused Natsuhiko. We need to take him to the hospital. Huh? This terrorist? Of course! What if he dies? Certainly, taking a life was not their intention in the slightest. Salu spoke up quietly. If he dies, then we won't be able to prove our innocence. That's right, let's call an ambulance. But they didn't have their PDAs on them to call 119. The kids reluctantly dashed out of the alley to look for a payphone or security personnel. As they got out, they heard some onlookers talking amongst themselves. Hey, did you hear a scream? Did it have anything to do with that telepathy earlier? And then mixed in with those onlookers, they saw familiar people lingering around. They were the men they had been fearing ever since yesterday. The security department. Oh no, what do we do? A few minutes ago, they would have run, but the situation was different now. It might be a long shot, but let's turn the culprit over to them. Huh? If we tell the security department, I'm pretty sure they'll call an ambulance for us. And besides, if we want to clear our names, now might be our only chance. Are you sure it won't complicate things if we showed them that crime scene? If they saw it, they'd accuse us of stabbing an upstanding citizen in retaliation for filing a report on us. I know it's a gamble, but we can't keep running forever, can we? Yeah, going up to them and talking to them about it is probably the best way to get them on your side. Besides, if we don't act quick, he'll die. No more running, no more hiding. Our best option is to talk to the security department now and get them to understand the truth. You're right. Okay. Mashiro took a deep breath and yelled. Security department people, over here, please! The PRC bomber's over here! And he's attempted suicide, too. Please call an ambulance. What? The security department members rushed over once they heard the kids' voices. We've done what we could. As he watched the security department members rush in, Natsuhiko prayed. He prayed they made the right choice to clear their names of the false charge. Here's hoping. Well, they get free. They get free in time to go to Labo tomorrow. The kids explained the truth to the security department. The security department called an ambulance and took the man to Rokume City Hospital. Fortunately, his wound wasn't as deep as they initially believed, and his treatment apparently went by relatively quickly. As for Natsuhiko, Mashiro, and Salu, they were taken to the municipal office and underwent a long, thorough investigation. They explained everything in detail to the security department, starting with why they had sneaked into the PRC. It took a long time to get the security department to understand all the details. They didn't seem easily swayed, but eventually the security department members went to the hospital and interrogated the security guard, thus learning that he had falsified the report and that his abdominal injury was self-inflicted. Kids' methods earned them approval for their recklessness, but their results earned them recognition for successfully apprehending an alleged terrorist in the end. Thank you for your cooperation. And with a final stereotypical line from the security department members who had been chasing them for hours, the kids left the municipal office. Happy ending! Everything's good, and nothing wrong will ever happen again! Oh, we are going to be in so much trouble with the Q people. It was quite dark by the time they had gotten outside. They could have at least given us a reward. Mashiro grumbled as they walked. She was quite on edge when the investigation began, but once she heard that the security guard was okay, she returned to her usual self. I don't know if she's being too greedy or being too soft. Natsuhiko smiled wryly as he made his reply. Now, let's just be glad they didn't end up putting us in their custody, shall we? Well, I guess. Nothing's more valuable than freedom, I guess. You two are so unselfish. Salu seemed unsatisfied, but Natsuhiko wasn't at all. Now that their names were cleared, they could move around without fear of the security department's shadow. And of course that meant they could return home. Oh boy, we can finally rest easy. He may have been injured, but at least we caught the culprit. Something has to go wrong to make them infiltrate Labo the next day. Yeah, and there's been a flashback where they get cornered by terrorists in a ruined building. And that hasn't happened yet. So that's probably what leads them to Labo. Alright, Salu, hi! Man, we're already almost at the end of the day. Okay. Oh boy, we can finally rest easy. He may have been injured, but at least we caught the culprit. Well, I guess we're not almost there, because we've still got that scene I just talked about. But they said the full-blown investigation will start once he's healed, right? I wish they'd pick up the pace, for goodness sake. I know, but it's getting late today, so let's just go home and eat for now. Yay, food. We haven't eaten anything since breakfast. Natsuhiko smiled at how they were finally able to have a calm conversation for the first time that day, but the background music went out, which means that something's probably about to happen. You must be hungry, huh, Salu? I bet. You've been hanging in there all this time, haven't you? Thank you, Salu. Let me pat your head as thanks. Mashiro petted Salu's head just as she said she would. Salu seemed a little ticklish, but she didn't seem to hate being petted as she obediently allowed Mashiro to continue. I did it to protect you two. It's not like I did it for praise. There you go again. No need to be such a tsundere, you little cutie. It's not like I'm embarrassed or anything. Actually, Not deflecting the tsundere accusations, Salu. You... It might be weird for me to say this, but I thought today was kind of fun. Huh? Fun? Yeah, we're heroes! Natsuhiko and Mashiro found themselves confused at the sudden mention of that word. Salu nodded as she explained herself. Remember when we got on the bus 2 days ago? We made a promise to go around the city. Oh, sure. And we fulfilled that promise in an unexpected way. Excuse me. Yeah, I thought tsundere was pronounced sundir, or sundir, for... I thought it was pronounced sundir for a very long time, but then I heard it out loud. And... that made it click that it was, you know, a Japanese word with Japanese pronunciation. And we fulfilled that promise in an unexpected way. We chased and got chased and ended up making an adventure all around town. It was almost like I had slipped into the memories you two share. Our memories? Yeah, your memories. Salu smiled and gazed at Mashiro and Natsuhiko. I have no memories of my own. There was nothing for me in my hometown. My days were dark and ashen, truly lifeless times. But today is sure to become a good memory. Yeah, the day you watch somebody get stabbed is a good memory. I'm glad I came to this town. Natsuhiko inadvertently looked away from Salu. He was taken completely off guard by Salu's pure innocence. What's with this girl? She's way too honest. That's just not fair. He looked towards Mashiro. She was pressing down on the inner corners of her eyes with trembling fingers. Uh-oh! Salu, were girls like you put on this earth to kill me with moe? You do know that moe is a dead word nowadays, right? Well, tell that to the people who made this game. I guess 2012 would have been the height of moe. Well, it hasn't really fallen off since then. Yeah, I guess the people making this game were optimistic about moe going away by 2030. Because it probably won't. Kill you with fire? Not quite the right type of moe, but close enough. I don't follow. Don't worry about it. Basically, she's saying you're cute, that's all. I see. Salu's eyes wandered in apparent confusion. Anyway, what I wanted to say was that today was fun. We didn't get to go shopping, but we can save that for later. I want us to all go together. Can we? Of course! Let's go shopping next Sunday, for sure. We'll use the remains of Natsuhiko's 100,000 yen he just withdrew. I'm up for it too. That's great. I'm glad you two agree. To be honest, I want new clothes. I really like the clothes you picked for me, Mashiro. I want you to pick something out for me again. I will. I'll choose however many you want. Is there anything else you want? Anything? I want a stuffed animal. Alice no good? Alice is full of computer hardware. She is not cuddly. That's not it. I just want stuffed animals for my room besides Alice, since I carry her everywhere. And since Mashiro named Alice, I want you to name the next one, Natsuhiko. I see. I'm not too confident in my naming sense, though. Natsuhiko, not even you can be tactless enough to turn her down here, can you? Of course not. I'll come up with a name if you really want. Okay, I'd be happy if you did. I'm sure I'll treasure that stuffed animal. Oh, I'll buy you as many books, stuffed animals, or bombs of mass destruction as you want. Anything at all. I'll take care of your every need. Just leave it up to your big sis over here. Mashiro struck her chest triumphantly. As Natsuhiko watched the two girls talk, he had a short dream of the future. He saw Salu looking around at all the stuffed animals she liked. He saw Mashiro enjoying herself as she showed Salu her recommendations. He saw himself watching a short distance away, not taking part because the man is not allowed to. I'm sure that'd be a fun day. Natsuhiko secretly smiled to himself at the thought. Well, it won't happen next Sunday because you'll all be recovering from gunshot wounds and shit. She deserves at least that much of a reward, since she's done so much for us today. That much was certain, but there was still one regretful thing that happened. In the end, we couldn't stop the terrorists from blowing up the PRC like they wanted to, huh? Yeah, but at least there weren't any casualties. Weren't there? Are you sure? That was another thing they had heard from the security department. Thanks to June's team, all the PRC staff members were rescued successfully. But that was still nothing to be happy about. Actually, there's one more thing that bothers me. The security guard wasn't the man I saw on the bus. I wonder if the man she saw on the bus was Watase. Huh? So I guess there are still more of them in town. Natsuhiko gasped at Mashiro's statement. I see. I have an idea about that point. If you will think about it calmly, the fact that the security guard stabbed himself in the stomach was also bizarre. Huh? What do you mean? Well, he did accomplish his mission to blow up the PRC. He had no reason to commit suicide. The fact that his wound was superficial is also worrying. The answer I can derive from these issues is that probably his suicidal act was just that, an act, a performance to make it appear that all the incidents had reached a conclusive end. A performance? If he went that far, anybody would believe that he was the one behind the entire string of incidents. But what if was just an act to avert the public gaze away from the lack of it in this sentence? You mean the incidents aren't over yet? Everyone's faces stiffened at that statement. Natsuhiko stopped walking and interjected. Hold on a second. Before we go back home, let's think things through a bit. If there are still terrorists around, what else do you think might happen here? More terrorism, I guess? But what other targets are there? The BC-related facilities that received the objectionable literature? No, those are decoys. But we heard that the security department was tightening their guard around those facilities. And the objectionable literature was a diversion for the Parapsychology Research Center bombing in the first place. Targeting those addressees would defeat the purpose of the diversion. Later, Crow. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, have fun with your writing club. Then what else could they be up to? Natsuhiko got the feeling they were missing something important. He thought about what that missing something could be. Arson? They wouldn't have had to make such an elaborate diversion to do that. I thought that all the diversions were to set up for the PRC bombing, but is that not the case? Do they have a target besides the PRC? Natsuhiko's train of thought led him to that point before something flashed at the back of his mind. Okay, what was the exact wording of Miyoko's mental process when Natsuhiko read her mind? What exactly did she say? Was it until the project is done, I'd better stay away from him? Or, well, what is it? What exactly did she say? No, he hates me, but until all the work is complete, it would be best if I avoided him. Huh. Miyoko's not part of Q, is she? Huh. And she did say that in a couple of days they could have that conversation. It's possible she's part of QAnon. Possible she's just talking about labo experiments that she doesn't want him to know about. Very interesting. Very interesting. Natsuhiko's train of thought led him to that point before something flashed in the back of his mind. He then realized exactly what it was that they were missing. Hey, Mashiro. Yeah? The man you saw on the bus mentioned ending this town's history, right? Huh? Well, yeah, but blowing up the PRC wouldn't end this town's history, would it? I mean, what if the PRC explosion itself were a diversion? Didn't we just go over that? Mashiro's face froze at the suggestion. Hold on, you mean they're targeting a bigger facility than the PRC? Yeah, something that sort of symbolizes the city, something they can destroy to satisfy their hatred against communicators. But where would you find a facility like that? The PRC is the biggest BC research facility in town, isn't it? You don't mean school, do you? No, they already caused a panic at school with the bomb threat, so... The moment Natsuhiko began to speak, if it were me, Sulu finally broke her silence with a side utterance, I'd target that place. Sulu pointed at the map posted at the bus stop. On the other side of her fingertip was an illustration of the hexagonal building Labo. Huh, Labo? Sulu, that's not a BC-related facility. It's a nuclear research facility. I know, but if I'm not mistaken, they should have a nuclear reactor. Right, they want to blow up the city with a nuclear reactor meltdown, right. Fortunately, there isn't a nuclear reactor in there. The moment he heard reactor, Natsuhiko was suddenly struck by an unpleasant feeling. And these terrorists hate communicators and are committing acts of terrorism that will end this town's history, correct? Sulu high, as per usual. Yeah? What if we take that to mean their true intention is to raze the town in its entirety and destroy the communicators? It'd be kind of funny if the terrorists didn't know that and just discovered a big empty room and went, yo, what the fuck? I'm pretty sure that that's what happened. They thought they were going to, well, maybe. Did they know about what Labo was actually for? Or were they trying to cause a nuclear meltdown that would have destroyed the city? Huh. I wonder. You know, it's probably as simple as they wanted to cause a meltdown and destroy the city. Natsuhiko and Mashiro gasped at the same time. You're right. If you caused a meltdown in the nuclear reactor there, that definitely would do it. No, not even a terrorist would do that, would they? They sure would. Why not? It's the most logical target. Yeah, but she couldn't find how to continue. Sulu's idea sounded like a crazy delusion, but it couldn't necessarily be dismissed as nonsense. If they did blow up the nuclear reactor, that certainly would end this town's history. The moment he thought that, he suddenly heard Ukita's words playing back in his head. You all have probably heard of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant disaster in Ukraine, causing enormous casualties. The residents in the vicinity and the firefighters sent in to handle the accident were hit the hardest. Over 3,000 of them died, and the number only rose after that. Man, as an aside, during Russia's invasion of Ukraine over the last couple of years, it is mind-boggling how stupid they were about Chernobyl. Like, they took Chernobyl and they started digging trenches in the irradiated forest and cooking food there and kicking up dust. I wouldn't be surprised if half of the soldiers involved in that, like 2/3 of the soldiers involved in that got cancer in a couple of years. I wonder how lethal the radiation would be kicking up the irradiated dust and dirt. in the Chernobyl forest around the reactor. Because, like, we're far enough from the Chernobyl. The Ukrainians did fight to retake that area, I believe, and they have recaptured it, I believe. And honestly, well, I don't know. It might provoke a larger war, but honestly, the other residents of Europe should consider sending in reinforcements specifically to guard the Chernobyl reactor, because some dangerous shit can happen with that. There's a lot of fissile material still there. The thing of it is, it's been long enough since the Chernobyl explosion that you can actually hang out near the reactor or in the vicinity just fine. There's some background radiation, but the real problem is the irradiated dirt and plants and animals around it. Well, I guess not animals at this point. It's been long enough that they're all dead. The irradiated dirt and plants carried that residue, and kicking it up or spending a lot of time in the forest and dealing with the dirt will give you radiation sickness. Like, it is not dangerous to just be in the vicinity of the Chernobyl reactor anymore, but there's still dangers in the area. And the number only rose after that. Natsuhiko shuddered. Mashiro started to tremble. Then you mean the PRC explosion was another diversion? And Q's real target is Labo? Calm down, Mashiro. It's just conjecture, that's all. That's right. What I said was nothing more than conjecture. Yeah, but it's still a possibility. So shouldn't we go to Labo and give them a warning? Maybe, but Labo... He swallowed his words. Natsuhiko didn't want to go anywhere near Labo, no matter what Mashiro said, because he could never forget what happened 9 years ago. It's flashback time! On July 7th, 2021. That was 9 years in the future when this game came out. And now it's almost 3 years in the past. We're a month and 3 days away from that being 3 years ago. That was the very same place he had exposed Yuri to life or death danger, particularly death danger. Death danger happened to her very thoroughly. Burned into Natsuhiko's memory was a fire. That day, Natsuhiko and Yuri sneaked into Labo to see the professor. But a fire broke out, and the kids were trapped in the facility. Maybe a government secret city wouldn't get hit as hard by COVID? Yeah, there's almost nobody gets let in or out of Rokame. Huh, yeah. Yeah, Rokame probably wouldn't have been hit as hard by COVID. Wait, hang on. Okay, so what's the timeline? 2014, the terrorist incidents start. 2016, Rokame City is established as a home for communicators. 2020, the Rokame City arson and the happened. 2019 into 2020 in the real world was when COVID got started. When did Rokame City get sealed off in the timeline? It's been said I think. I think it was... Huh. As an aside, it just hit me that the reason people became aware of communicators was because babies started broadcasting their thoughts telepathically. Because it would have had to have been babies at that point. Okay. Anyways, the kids were trapped in the facility. The fire alarm echoed. Yuri kept sobbing, and the broadcast voice kept repeating. In accordance with this emergency, security has shifted to blockade mode, locking down all gates and bulkheads. The gate shut in front of them and wouldn't open. Darn it, why won't it open? What do we do, Hikarin? I'm scared. Don't cry, Yuri. I'll do something. Tears welled up in Natsuhiko's eyes. Tears of fear. Tears for fears, you could say. Tears of pain from slamming the gate with his fists. Eventually, Yuri's coughing started to grow weak. If we stay here, Yuri's gonna die. Natsuhiko carried Yuri's body and slowly started to walk. The smoke stung his eyes. He began to tear up. His breathing grew rough. His head hurt. And still he aimlessly wandered, searching for a route to survival. Not even Natsuhiko quite remembered how they were saved after that, because he blocked it out because Yuri died. He only had the faint memory that someone had come to save them. We were in the hospital before we knew it. But ever since then, the terror didn't end with that traumatic experience. Ever since that day, Yuri could no longer leave the house. And it wasn't just Yuri that changed. That day, around the same time as the fire, a small radiation leak occurred within the facility. Labo denied the existence of a leak, and no report was made mentioning it. But considering their efforts after the fact, a radiation leak was the only possible explanation. Natsuhiko was hospitalized for 3 months following the incident, and even after being discharged, he was required to undergo a yearly physical examination at the hospital. Excuse me. Even now, after 9 years had already passed from their narrow escape from death, everything changed after that day. By now, Natsuhiko displayed essentially no symptoms of radiation exposure. His body was almost perfectly healthy. But with every passing July 7th, and with each mention of Labo, he would recall what happened back then. Natsuhiko and Yuri were still bound together by that incident, even now. Even more than you think, Natsuhiko! And yet I have to go to Labo again? The moment that thought crossed his mind, Natsuhiko began feeling nauseous. He broke out in a cold sweat, and his throat went dry. His entire body was tormented by the unpleasant memory. Damn it! Is my body refusing to remember? Natsuhiko gritted his teeth, held back the urge to vomit, and finally wrung out some words. Even if Salu's conjecture is correct, it's a problem that's out of our hands, Mashiro. No way! Aren't you worried, Natsuhiko? Of course I am. But even if Salu's conjecture is right, what do you expect us to do? What do you mean, Natsuhiko? You've been running around trying to do stuff for the last 2 days. How do you suggest we stop terrorists from targeting a nuclear reactor? But then what do you suggest we do? First, we contact Labo officials. As soon as Natsuhiko began to talk, he heard a familiar voice from behind them. Oh, hey, hello. Hey, what's up, man? Well, if it isn't Natsuhiko. Huh, Natsuhiko gasped and looked at the owner of the voice. A car was parked at the shoulder of the road, and Ukita had come out of the driver's seat. Mr. Ukita! Is something the matter? What's with all this commotion outside in a place like this? Ukita questioned the kids with a curious look on his face. Suddenly, Natsuhiko remembered Mr. Ukita's accident. I wonder how Mr. Ukita still got into an accident, though. Beats me. Maybe there was a system error in his car's ADS? But I thought ADS failures were exceptionally rare. I guess he drives manually. He didn't think too deeply about the cause of the accident at the time, but... What if Ukita was trying to run Natsuhiko over, and his automatic braking system tried to fight him over it? What if that wasn't an accident? What if QAnon targeted Mr. Ukita since he's with Labo? Terrified, Natsuhiko rushed up to Ukita. Mr. Ukita, please listen. You see... Natsuhiko and Mashiro explained Salu's conjecture. Ukita probably didn't know who Salu was, so they explained her story as well. And after he had finished hearing everything, Ukita spoke with a grim look on his face. QAnon's targeting us. This is a huge concern. You know about QAnon too, Mr. Ukita? Computers are a hobby of mine. Naturally, that includes browsing the internet as well, which is how I happened to learn of them. Browsing the internet is your hobby? But never in my wildest dreams did I ever expect they'd target my own workplace when we've got nothing to do with them. Yeah? Nothing to do with them? Huh, Ukita? Yeah? His phrasing sounded a little cynical, but he appeared to have believed the kid's word. Natsuhiko sighed in relief as he continued the explanation. We just caught one of those terrorists. You caught one? You kids did? Oh, he seems a little upset by that. Yes, but he might have just been a diversion. In that case, we can't rest yet, can we? But we at Labo have the strictest security in the entire city. Terrorists couldn't target us even if they tried. Yeah, what if you're part of Q? Whoops. Right-clicking takes me to... Right-clicking takes me to this menu? I've been pressing keyboard buttons to get to tips and help and all sorts of stuff. I could have been right-clicking this entire time? Wait. Okay, I can't edit the sentences. God damn it. Terrorists couldn't target us even if they tried. I highly doubt they can crush our security that easily. But I wouldn't hurt to be alert. Indeed, it would be disastrous in the off chance that they did manage to take over the facility. So, in that case... Okay, I'll talk to the security staff and get them to strengthen security even further. Okay, please do. Mashiro and Ukita smiled at each other. On the other hand, Natsuhiko secretly focused his mind. Sorry, Mr. Ukita, it's not like I don't trust you, but... He decided to read Ukita's mind just to make sure, just like he did with June. He searched for Ukita's brain waveform and identified him as Type 1. He continued, focused on the desire to know what was on his mind. Please, Mr. Ukita, open your heart to me. The moment that thought crossed Natsuhiko's mind, he heard a voice echo in his head. Random encounter! Can't get these kids involved too. Ew. But there's no time. Need to act now. Natsuhiko had gradually gotten used to it by his third attempt. He successfully used empathy. And above all else, Ukita was thankfully opening his heart to them. Okay, if he doesn't want these communicator kids to die... If he doesn't want these kids to die, then he's not part of the plot to blow up the quote-unquote reactor. But he would know there isn't a reactor there. So... Okay. So he could still be part of Q. And just affectionate towards these three communicators specifically? No, he'd hate us. He'd hate us... too, probably. And he wouldn't have opened his heart to us. Okay. Huh. Thank you, Mr. Ukita. I'm glad we consulted with you. No, I only did what was natural. I have an obligation to fulfill as a member of Labo. It's very likely he does know about the mystery room, but it's possible he actually doesn't know about it. Oh, I'm convinced that he's got a much higher security clearance than he lets on. But no matter what happens, promise me you kids won't put yourselves in danger. The kids felt that having him as an ally would be a big support. Salu obediently listened to Ukita's words. Okay then, I shall be heading back to Labo now. I apologize, but we'll have to part here. Okay, please do. Kyan. With Natahiko and Alice's voices at his back, Ukita returned to his car. He then drove back towards Labo. As they watched the car drive off, Salu muttered quietly. I don't understand what's on other people's minds. What's this all of a sudden? Well, there's something I want to ask you too. Did you notice anything suspicious about Keiji Ukita's speech and conduct? Huh? Suspicious? An unpleasant premonition quickly spread among them. Salu petted Alice and continued. When I said anything suspicious, I was referring to the reason Alice cried out like that. That kyan cry indicates when someone's flustered. Why would he be flustered? Natahiko and Mashiro gasped at the word. Wait, what do you mean by flustered? He didn't look that way to me. Alice can detect nuanced changes in facial expression that may be difficult for humans to detect. Subtle indicators such as sweat, muscle tension, and shivering. If her analysis is correct, then he was flustered, but I do not understand the reason why. No way. Huh? Tell them what you heard, Natahiko. Which is it? Is Mr. Ukita a victim or an aggressor? As he pondered, Natahiko suddenly realized something. There was something bizarre about what he had heard of Ukita's mental voice. I can't get these kids involved too. But there's no time, need to act now. There's no time. Natahiko had been quite relieved to find out that Ukita's heart was open, but the more he thought about it, the stranger it seemed. Why would Ukita think there's no time just from hearing Salu's conjecture? Hold on a second. That wasn't all that was strange. I can't get these kids involved too could be taken in a way that meant he had already gotten other people involved. There's two possibilities. Either Mr. Ukita really felt the gravity of the terrorist threat, or Mr. Ukita is with the terrorists and thought that we had caught on to the plan. Natahiko's heart pounded. Q uses sleeper agents. Is Mr. Ukita the sleeper agent in their Labo terrorist plot? Oh crap, let's chase after Mr. Ukita for now. Okay, so there's two people in the there's two people in the adult party that the kids wouldn't trust. How are you going to chase him down? He's already left in a car. Yeah. There was no time for Natahiko to dwell on unpleasant memories. The kids ran off in the direction they had seen Ukita leave. Watchman's refusal. Only one road led to Labo. Labo Private Highway. The entrance had an inspection gate where all cars were checked. The facility was equipped with a nuclear reactor. That level of security was only to be expected. And at the entrance, Natsuhiko, Mashiro, and Salu were caught in the checkpoint as well. Huh? Who are you kids? They were stopped by a stern-faced traffic inspector. We want to go to Labo. Please, let us through. Traffic inspector's like, oh yeah, sure. Now get out of my face, kid. What the hell do you think you're saying? No, definitely not. Reasonable. How do you even expect to get there? It's 10 kilometers away, you know? That'll only take a couple of hours. Stop spewing bullshit and go home, kids. But we know Dr. Tenkawa. I don't care who you know. Nobody gets through this inspection gate without a valid reason. How are they going to get in there? If you want to get to Labo, then go through the proper routes to get permission from the Rokume City Security Department or Labo's PR manager. Permission? How long does it take to get that? Anywhere from 3 days to 1 week, I suppose. Though I seriously doubt they take an ordinary student's application seriously. No way. How did Natsuhiko and Yuri get in 9 years ago? There could be a terrorist attack on Labo, you know? A terrorist attack? Well, yeah, there's been a big commotion lately around town. We're already on guard. A little too on guard, if you ask me, though. No, it's not enough. There's a high probability that the terrorists could have a sleeper agent in Labo. Have you considered that possibility? Sleeper agent? What nonsense is that? Whatever, just go home already before I call the cops on you. And with that threat, the traffic inspector placed his hand on the phone. The police. They had just cleared their names with the security department. If he called the police, things could quite possibly get troublesome again. Salu gently whispered into Natsuhiko's ear. Let's go home, you two. It's not a good idea to agitate the situation any further. But what we need to do is stop the terrorist plot, not make enemies of the police and security department. Natsuhiko and Mashiro were finally convinced. Okay, let's think of a new plan then. It'd be for the best. Well, I guess if they were being experimented on, or studied, or something, then they would have been able to get in. Huh. What if Natsuhiko tells his mom he's developed empathy and telepathy and she brings them in? It'd be for the best. Excuse us. Better not see you here again, even if you get lost, you hear? The kids left the inspection point with that voice at their backs. This looks bad. What do we do? Doesn't look like we've got a choice. Let's look for a payphone for now. Let's give a heads up to the police and the security department, and finally Labo. They nodded and began walking again. As they walked about the main road, they soon found 2 payphones lined up next to each other. Natsuhiko quickly looked up the security department number and called them. Yes, this is the Rokume Municipal Office Security Department. Takahashi speaking. Thanks for all the hard work. It's me, Tenkawa, the Rokume Academy student. Oh, well, if it isn't Mr. Housekeeper. What can I do for you? Well, you see, Natsuhiko gave the security department member a summary of Salu's conjecture. However, so basically, there's a possibility that the terrorists are targeting Labo. Yeah, we already know that. Thanks for your cooperation. The voice on the other side of the phone had not a hint of seriousness. We'll give Labo a heads up, so just relax. No, that still doesn't seem like enough. Can't you increase security or anything? Well, we'd have to dilute security at every other facility. We can't exactly do that. I know that, but isn't there anything you can do? We can't work on possibilities alone. It'd be a different story if Labo at least received objectionable literature or something. Man, that is such a bad translation. That is such a literal, uncomfortable translation. They keep using objectionable literature. Anyway, we'll strengthen security around the city. Understood. Please do. Natsuhiko drooped his shoulders and hung up. How did it go? Well, at least he heard me out, but you know, how'd it go on your end? While Natsuhiko was calling the security department, Mashiro was contacting the police. But she just looked dejected and shook her head. No good at all. They kept insisting that security was sufficient. Is our story too much of a stretch to get them to believe us? What should we do? Right when Salu muttered that, they heard footsteps approaching in the distance. Natsuhiko gasped and looked back. Ah, here we go. There was a single man walking on the other side of the street. He was covering his face with a jacket hood and sunglasses, even though it was nighttime. Mashiro, Salu, that man. Mashiro and Salu looked at the man after Natsuhiko whispered to them. The man was tall, and they could tell he was quite muscular, even through his jacket. There was a strange intensity about him as well. Is that the man who was on the bus? Oh, they're gonna follow him, aren't they? Maybe. At least he looks like he has the same build. He's coming this way. The man walked straight towards them, never looking to either side. What if he's a terrorist? The fact that he was approaching them without hiding or running away probably meant that he had business with them. The fact that he wasn't on guard meant he could be armed. Don't tell me he's here to silence us. Natsuhiko promptly put himself on guard. If the man wasn't a terrorist, he'd just walk past them. The man stopped about 50 meters away from the kids, but then he suddenly made a mad dash at them. Mashiro, Salu, let's get out of here. Yeah. Natsuhiko turned back and tried to run. But on the other side of the road was just a single straight path continuing on forever. It was not a distance he could run while taking Mashiro with him. This way, turn to the side road. In a daze, Natsuhiko dragged Mashiro and Salu into the side road. They ran down the unpaved road. They could tell the man was following them. They made a desperate run for their life in the darkness with nary a streetlight. Soon enough, Natsuhiko realized something. This street was familiar. This path leads to... That's right, it should lead to the ruined factory. He didn't know if taking refuge in those ruins would be a blessing or a curse. But he knew that if they kept running, their chances of escaping were low. This way, guys! Natsuhiko shouted and rushed into the ruined factory. Okay, you shouted, so the guy chasing you heard you. They tried to catch their breath as quickly as they could. And with steady, stealthy steps, they hid under cover. As they held their breath, they heard Mashiro using telepathy. You think we'll be okay if we hide here? Natsuhiko and Salu answered her in a whisper. I don't know. Hopefully he overlooks this ruined factory and passes it by. We can't be optimistic. If he does come here, I'll stall him with a surprise attack. Mashiro quietly gasped at those words. A surprise attack? You're gonna attack that huge a man? Is he really that much bigger than the security guard? There should be no problem as long as he doesn't have any hand-to-hand combat skills. Even if he is trained in hand-to-hand combat or he's armed, I'll be able to manage if I take him by surprise. Will you really be okay? I will, as long as he's alone, that is. Then what if he's not alone? As soon as that thought crossed Natsuhiko's mind, he heard footsteps outside the factory. Natsuhiko shrunk down and held his breath. The footsteps slowly came into the factory. The number of footsteps revealed that he was alone. He seems to be alone. Can you manage? Salou silently nodded. Should we help? Excuse me. Salou silently shook her head. You can do it by yourself? Salou nodded and smiled, as if to tell Mashiro to relax. The footsteps drew closer. So close, they could almost feel the man's breath. Salou slowly calculated her timing and jumped out of her cover. Salou's shadow danced in the darkness. They could hear the man gasp. Salou moved faster than the man could ready himself and landed a roundhouse kick solidly on his head. Oh shit, it's Watase! The man silently fell to the floor. You did it! Amazing! Way to go, Salou! Salou looked away, as if embarrassed by Natsuhiko and Mashiro's praise. More importantly, who is this man? Judging by the circumstances, he seems like a terrorist, but should we wait until he wakes up and ask him? No, that seems too dangerous. Mashiro, can you read his mind with empathy? I don't know. I've never tried reading the mind of an unconscious person before. But I'll try it out. Yeah, I'll try too. Natsuhiko and Mashiro put their fingers to their brows. They concentrated their consciousnesses on the fainted man and focused deeply on the desire to reach his mind. Tell me, who are you? Are you really a terrorist? He focused on that question with all his heart, all his mind. He deepened his concentration, and eventually his 5 senses faded. Random encounter! Yes, that's a sensation. I've activated empathy. The moment he made that realization, his lost senses were replaced with the sound of a bizarre voice. But the voice was nothing but the unintelligible vestiges of thought. He only heard fragments of noise. No matter how carefully he searched, the result was the same. Damn it, I can't figure out anything like this. I guess it really doesn't work, huh? Can't exactly open your heart if you've conked out. Natsuhiko stopped concentrating and spoke to Mashiro. Mashiro, how's it going on? Natsuhiko gasped before he could finish. Mashiro was standing stock still with her eyes peeled wide open. Natsuhiko! He gasped and traced Mashiro's gaze. Somebody else has Salou. Oh, yep! Only to see 2 unfamiliar men suddenly standing there in the darkness. What? Only then did Natsuhiko notice. Oh boy! That Salou was collapsed at the men's feet. And that the man on the left was holding a gun. There was no room for doubt. In no uncertain terms, these men were terrorists. Damn it, so we really did have allies. Natsuhiko cursed his carelessness. Once Natsuhiko tried to use BC, his 5 senses died out. In other words, he became oblivious to what was going on around him. Did these new guys come in from the back and knock Salou out? It seemed she was only unconscious, judging by the lack of blood. But now that Salu, the only one among them with combat skills, was incapacitated, God, it is so absurd. She is 13! They had no means of a counter-offensive. Salu. Mashiro muttered Salu's name in a trembling voice and tried to walk up to her. Don't move. But that voice stopped her. The second you move, I shoot. Natsuhiko stood to cover for Mashiro. Upon which the third man spoke. Natsuhiko Tenkawa and Mashiro Toba, I presume? How do you know our names? Calling the security department people. We had someone look into it. We heard we had a couple of kids trying to sniff out our plans, see? A cold chill ran down Natsuhiko's spine. He had never expected to be apprehended by the enemy so easily. Well, maybe they just heard it from the security officer. The security guard. Are these guys an even huger organization than we thought? The man continued as Natsuhiko found himself at a loss for words. Self-righteousness just leads to self-destruction. Sorry, but we have to dispose of you. You're gonna kill us? The other man answered the question quite briefly. Yeah, we will. So, stop talking and shoot us. Wait, it'll be too conspicuous if we leave bodies behind. But even so, we can't leave any insecurities in our plan before it hatches, can we? Of course not. So in that case, let's just put you kids to sleep for now. Not 1 second after the man finished talking, he ran over to Mashiro. It swiftly hit her in the neck with a knife hand strike. Mashiro gasped before collapsing on the spot. What are you doing? I said I'm putting you kids to sleep, didn't I? How dare you? How dare you lay a hand on Mashiro? Natsuhiko gave in to his anger and tried to strike the man. But the man dodged all too easily and wrapped around behind him. In the very next moment, the man wrapped his thick arm around Natsuhiko's neck. Ugh. Okay, so obviously gunshots would probably get noticed, but if you could knock these kids out and then strangle them to death, nobody would find their bodies for a while. This factory is abandoned. Hey, Cobweb. Like, you could kill these kids and leave, and nobody would find them for weeks. Natsuhiko's breathing stopped. The man wrung out every last bit of air from his lungs. Damn it! Let go! But all the strength in Natsuhiko's body was not enough to make the man budge one bit. The grip in the man's arm was enough to show Natsuhiko the hopeless difference in strength between them. His consciousness started to fade into the distance. Damn it! Is this where it ends? There was nothing more that Natsuhiko could do. As soon as he understood the extent of his own powerlessness, fury burst up from inside of him. Oh, are you going to incapacitate them with a mental blast? At the very least, let me at least know what exactly these guys are plotting. He screamed from the depths of his mind not to let things end this way. A torrent of rage surged from inside Natsuhiko. Let me use empathy, or anything at all. Show me what's in their minds. As that thought crossed his mind. Random encounter! Excuse me. Natsuhiko's vision blacked out. But not for telepathy, for, oh, hello. And a bizarre vision arose from the back of his mind. He saw an unfamiliar room. He heard someone's voice from right beside him. Silence them, huh? And then he heard someone else answer. Not like we've got a choice. You're telling us to kill children? Don't go that far. Just threaten them and tie them up. The security department's mobilizing too. We don't want to draw their attention. We can't have Labo increasing their own level of security either. Because D-Day is tomorrow. Right as Natsuhiko heard up to that point, the voices quickly faded away. Okay, so these guys, hang on. Okay. So these guys don't want to kill kids. But they're... Huh. Okay, so does Q know about the actual purpose of Labo? Huh. Q might know the actual purpose of Labo. Because if they're gonna blow up if they were gonna blow up a nuclear reactor, the kids would die anyway. Maybe they aren't informed about the nuke plan? Well, they've been told about D-Day. Okay, so they have to know about Labo's true nature. Because otherwise, there'd be no point in leaving Natsuhiko and the others alive. Interesting. Okay. So there is a mole who knows about Labo's true nature. Is it Ukita? Huh. Right as Natsuhiko heard up to that point, the voices quickly faded away. And the vision disappeared too. What? Natsuhiko gasped. What just happened? He had a feeling it was a little different from empathy. But one thing was for certain. So the real target was Labo after all. And D-Day is tomorrow? Stop. Oh, hi, Yuri. But Natsuhiko's consciousness faded away before he could tell anyone anything. His sight sank into darkness, and his hearing fell silent too. And yet, for some reason, he heard the painfully loud ticking of a watch's second hand. And mixed in with that sound, he heard a faint voice. Rin. It was Yuri's voice. Yuri? She sounded somehow sad. Hikarin, you've finally reached it, haven't you? Huh? The apex of a communicator's journey. The ability beyond empathy. The power to connect minds rather than just brains. Yep. And that's what he did to want to say, and I'll bet they swapped bodies. But it would be best if he didn't use it anymore, for you might end up knowing something you'd rather not know. No way. Like hell there's something I'd rather not know. Natsuhiko shouted voicelessly. I learned what their goal was. Our conjecture was right. So we have to do something. But by the time he made that realization, it was too late. Natsuhiko's consciousness was blanking out. A short silence passed, and then Yuri seemed just a little bit happy. I see. Of course you'd think that way, Hikarin. In that case, you mustn't give up. For the truth is already right before you. I'm sure you can reach it, Hikarin. That voice faded into the distance. Eventually, even the sound of the watch's second hand faded out and ceased. Natsuhiko had a detailed recollection of what happened yesterday. He remembered the day he had learned the truth, confronted the enemy, and suffered defeat. And today, the gate closed in front of them, sending Natsuhiko into a crisis alongside Yuri and Mashiro. But even so, like hell am I going to give up? He had that conviction. Yuri stood beside him and whispered softly into his ear. Hikarin, you've remembered, haven't you? You've overcome several obstacles to get here. You've obtained the strength you need to overcome the past. No matter what happens from now on, your mind will endure. You should be able to overcome anything. Those words fortified Natsuhiko's mind even further. Though his head still hurt, he gritted his teeth and bore it. Mashiro called out to Natsuhiko in his silence. Natsuhiko, what are you talking to Yuri about? Natsuhiko smiled and answered her. She has given me courage. Huh? Mashiro, we can't give up yet. There has to be a way out. But we can't go anywhere because the gate won't open. No, we'll search for a security card. As long as we have the right card, we can go to Area 6. Closer inspection of the gate revealed a card slot. Natsuhiko, Mashiro, and Yuri didn't have a security card, but if they found one, they could probably open the gate. There was a huge panic in the facility after the alarm rang out. I wouldn't be surprised if one or two staff members forgot to bring their card with them. That's why places that have security cards force you to keep them on a lanyard at all times. You're not allowed to take them off. I wouldn't be surprised if one or two staff members forgot to bring their card with them. I see. A little bit of Mashiro's cheerfulness had returned to her voice. It may have been just a sliver of hope, but they had no choice but to wager on it. I swear I'll find a card and get these two girls out of here if it's the last thing I do. Well, you'll get one of them out of here. The other one, not so sure. Natsuhiko made that conviction and ran off once more. Let's split up the search. Mashiro, you take that room. Okay. Then Hikarin, you take that room further down. Yeah, leave it to me. Natsuhiko followed Yuri's suggestion and plunged into that room. It was a small personal office, about 9 square meters in size. It's a mess, huh? Maybe I can find a card here somewhere. Natsuhiko quickly started searching for a card. First, he tried searching through the desk drawers. But all he found were metal boxes of some sort, nothing like a card. Which he won't need because these kids are psychic mushrooms, immune to radiation. He quickly gave up on the drawers and started looking on top of the desk. But then something entirely different on the desk caught his eye. Huh? A digital photo frame decorated the desk. And the photo currently displayed was a photo of Natsuhiko himself. It's his mom's office. Why is there a picture of me here? As he looked at the picture, he remembered when the photo was taken. The day he entered high school was one of the rare days his mother came home. She took the photo with her PDA camera that evening. Don't tell me this is Mom's personal office. Natsuhiko gasped. But as he looked at that picture, he was struck by the tremendous sense that there was something out of place. You know what I just realized? Yuri wasn't there. So every time Watase and the others injected Yuri with AD, they were emptying that ampule into empty air. But as he looked at that picture, he was struck by the tremendous sense that there was something out of place. Natsuhiko was sitting on the sofa, alone! Alone! He remembered being confused when his mother abruptly pointed her PDA at him. But something's not right here. The uncanny feeling became too much for Natsuhiko, and he averted his eyes from the photo. 'Cause Yuri doesn't reel. Only for his gaze to land on a file rack nearby. The files appeared to be organized by year. And the file labeled 2021 in particular. This wasn't the time to be snooping, but Natsuhiko reached out for the file as if entranced. The answer just might be in here. As soon as that thought crossed his mind, he felt someone's presence. He looked up in shock to find Yuri standing by the room's entrance. Yuri! Yeah, I thought it was because she was immune to radiation, but it was actually because she didn't want to be wasted on a brain ghost! Yuri silently tilted her head to the side. You know, I was joking about the psychic mushroom thing and figured that they had to have been finding AD, but, Yuri being fake and Salu showing symptoms of radiation poisoning at the end there when she is not psychic means that it's possible that Natsuhiko and Mashiro are actually immune to the WX particle radiation. Yuri silently tilted her head to the side. Natsuhiko interrogated her. Did you send me into this room because you knew about this? Did I send you? No, Hikarin. You chose this room yourself. Ha 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 ha! What do you mean? We came into this room 9 years ago too, didn't we? To escape the fire and the smoke. You couldn't find a card back then, but this time you can find one for sure. How do you know that? You just overlooked it. You should already know where the card is, Hikarin. Yuri looked at Natsuhiko as she spoke. Look for it and escape with Mashiro. They're not even hiding that Yuri isn't real anymore. With Mashiro? What about you, Yuri? I can't go with you. Why not? Haven't you realized it already? Yuri smiled a lonely smile. What does she mean? I already know the reason? We're at the reveal. Well, we're going to get the reveal in Chapter 6. But gradually, Natsuhiko began to notice. The sights he saw, the sounds he heard, and the feelings he felt. All the memories he was recollecting were approaching the present. The recollections and the present were about to overlap temporally. Natsuhiko's watch began to move again, as if to press him to move as well. The date display said 9/16. The hands pointed to 3/19 today. Hikarin, try to remember what it was you saw and heard today. For the truth lies in those observations. And with Yuri's whisper, Natsuhiko's consciousness went back 4 hours in time. The last day. In the starless darkness. I think that's a good stopping point. What do you think, Shai? I think that's a really good stopping point. We'll do Chapter 7. Can't believe we're playing Majora's Mask, yeah. We'll do Chapter 7 next time. Great stopping point. Cool. I have a couple days open later in the month. The 26th, the 27th, and the 28th. I'm not saying we will... I'm not saying we'll specifically do Time IOU one of those days, but... and I'm not setting those days aside for patron picks until I know if I'll finish Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door by the time by the end of the time I've allotted for it. But I will keep this in mind, and maybe we'll finish B later this month. I'll keep in touch with you. But yeah, we're coming up to the reveal of Yuri being fake. Oh, that's exciting. We can do one thing before we end stream. Load up save 100. Okay. His and her past before Chapter 1. Okay. What do you want me to do? Just read through and get more context for what's going on? Or have more context now that I'm way ahead of it? You can skip forward a bit. You'll get something new. Natsuhiko and Mashiro told Yuri about the incident. So that's what happened. Control for skip right. Despite how tense Mashiro was right after the accident, she was now back to her cheerful self, excitedly telling the tale. Okay. What senses should I set? Choose anything. Okay, I'll just I really don't think it's a good idea to act on impulse without any consideration for your own safety. Mashiro's kindness was a good thing, but her lack of prudence was one of her weak points. Ha! You're just the one lacking in manliness, Natsuhiko. Manliness? But you're a girl, remember? Oh, I got something else the last time I was here. How can I watch a girl leap into danger and not worry? You were worried? Of course! You may have forgotten this, but you're a girl, at least biologically, you know. Oh, you're right. Well, I'm sorry I worried you. Well, you know, you used to leap into danger a lot when you were young too, Natsuhiko. Huh? Well, I guess. Natsuhiko found himself at a loss for words in the face of that embarrassing point. Aha! There we go. Oh, I got Bayo Bayo Episode 6 commentary. Is that what you wanted me to get? Is that what you wanted me to unlock? Cool. It only shows up after you get the other 5. Gotcha. So it forces you to replay early on? Interesting. You need to get all tips in this game to unlock a final tip. Oh man, are you going to make me get the other 90 tips before we finish this game? Oh my god, how many tips are there going to be in the third route? Holy crap. There's only 3 hours between... I've gotten all the optional ones so far. All of them? All of them? I haven't missed any? And there's still 90 to go? There's definitely a third route. But how big can that route be? Because, like, okay, so there were the end of Route A in the perfect ending, the proper ending we got. There were still 3 hours before the bulkheads would open up. How are we going to get 90 tips over a 3-hour in-universe span? Holy shit. This game's wild. Well, it's kind of wild. Mysterious? Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a third route. Like, Route B will end... my guess is Route B will end at the confrontation between Watase and Natsuhiko, and then we'll unlock, like, Route C or whatever. Which will start at the point where Route A ends. Somehow a fourth route? No, I think it's just going to be the 3. But yeah, damn. I'm excited to continue this. We're getting to the meat of it. I want to see how the revelation that Yuri doesn't reel goes down. And maybe Yuri... okay, if Natsuhiko and Watase don't swap brains, okay. Yuri was scared of Watase. Yuri was scared of Watase for a large portion of Route A. So that says to me that maybe that's not a transferred Natsuhiko, and Yuri just latched onto Watase's brain at some point instead of Natsuhiko's? Or maybe Natsuhiko transferred his illusion of her? Is Yuri a ghost or a figment of his imagination? Like, is she a psychic remnant of Yuri that can be transferred to another person? Or is she a figment of Natsuhiko's imagination and it's all just him talking to himself? Huh. I guess we'll find out next time. Alright, well, that's going to be it for today. So I'll read my schedule and get off. Before I do, I would like to plug my Patreon, which you can find at patreon.com/LoreweaverStreams. You can also find the link in the description of the YouTube video, or with the !Patreon command in Twitch chat. I make my living off of Patreon. It's my sole source of income. And I make enough to pay my rent and my bills, but I'm also just scraping by beyond that. And I'd really like to have some stability, some savings for medical emergencies, for if I need to replace stuff, something I haven't had for a very long time. So if you could go to my Patreon and pledge $1 a month, or $1 per stream, or anything in between, pledge a bunch per stream if you really want to change my life, I'd be grateful. I'm grateful to everybody who pledges, because you're the reason I have this strange, silly job that I love so much. If it weren't for you guys, I would still be a telemarketer, or a burger flipper, or some other equally horrible, soul-sucking job, so thank you. There's also a slot open right now where you can pick a game for me to play once a month, so grab that before it goes away. There's only the one. I'd also like to plug my YouTube channel, at Loreweaver on YouTube. You can also get the link with the !YT command in Twitch chat. I upload all my streams to YouTube. Everything from the last 8 years is up there, and it's a wide variety of games, including the rest of this playthrough. I'm sure you'll find something you like. There's a lot up there. There's a good variety. If you're watching this on YouTube, I stream live on Twitch almost every day at 1 p.m. EST at twitch.tv/Loreweaver15. You can also find the link in the description of the YouTube video. Come hang out while I stream. It's a good time. I love talking to people while I play. It's great fun. So, come hang out. Finally, the schedule. Tomorrow, I'll be playing another Crab's Treasure for a patron. Thursday, I'm going to be recording my Pokemon podcast with Love and Teddy at my usual stream time, or earlier. And then we will probably be doing a group. We'll be doing more co-op Stardew Valley with the stream crew. Friday, I will be playing Amnesia: The Dark Descent for a patron, probably finishing it. Saturday will, of course, be our weekly Final Fantasy XIV stream. And Sunday through Friday of next week, we will be playing Paper Mario: The 1,000-Year Door. My blind playthrough of that, I'm excited. So that's going to be it for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. And I will see you next time.